So far here at the Voorburg Cricket Club, we've had 2 days of cricket, a day of rain and a day of rest, but we are back on the park today as this series resumes. The host, the Netherlands, is going to take on Scotland today. Ireland also part of this series, the last chance for World Cup preparations. I'm Mr. Maximo. This is the ECN Netherlands T20I Try series, and it starts right now.
Hello everyone and welcome to the European Cricket Network. Looking forward to this T20 International. It's Scotland taking on Netherlands. These two teams met a couple of days ago. Netherlands winning by 41 runs in that encounter. I do think today it might be a little bit closer. Let's talk about the weather conditions. Well, we're very, very lucky. The cricket gods are smiling on us. A lot of rain overnight in the Netherlands. It poured all over the country. Credit to the grounds crew who have been able to get the outfield dry, the pitch covered, and we will get a full match in today. The pitch is different from a few days ago. We have moved a couple of strips over, and yes, it looks green on top, but I am telling you it is rock hard, and I do expect there to be a bit of a high scoring game. 160, 170. If you can get yourself in, don't worry about the green on top. It is so firm underneath. Looking at these lineups, it's been an impressive display so far from the Dutch bowlers. They've used their spinners wisely in Durham, Pringle, Dutt. You look at their quicks, Kingma looks like he's in the top of form, and maybe even Kyle Klein will get a go today. For Scotland, the other day wasn't their best batting performance. They relied on Berrington and Cross. Can someone else come into that lineup? Ollie Hare's at the top, Munsey at the top, and get a power play that might be in the 40s or 50s region. Overall, it should be an interesting T20I. I can't wait to see how this one pans out. Let's go to the coin toss because Vinny Sandu is standing with the two captains.
Thanks very much, Corey. Yeah, time for the toss here in match number 4. The Netherlands against Scotland. Two captains and Phil Whittercase, the referee here. Let's hand it over to Scotty. You've got the coin. Richie to call. Heads is the call. So Scotty Edwards, the Netherlands captain, you've won the toss. What are you going to do?
Yeah, we're going to have a bowl first.
Okay, so what's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit in the air, so hopefully get some swing early. Yeah, and hold them to a small target we can get.
Obviously, you're 1-1 in the series now. Had a really tight loss the other night to the Irish, but how are the group feeling at the moment?
Yeah, I think we're playing a pretty good brand of cricket. You know, obviously in that last game, we had a poor sort of 6-7 over period, which probably cost us. And, you know, when it comes down to one run in the end, it's always a bit of, you know, what you could have done. But no, we're playing some good cricket. So, yeah, excited for today.
Well, I'm sure you have the home crowd behind you. A few changes in your side. We'll come to that in a moment. But best of luck for the game. Scotty Edwards, the Dutch skipper. We've got Richie Berrington here, the Scotland captain. So you're going to have a bat first. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, good. I think we've seen in this series so far, games have been won both ways. So, yeah, I think just new wicket from the other day. So just assessing really early, and hopefully we can, you know, improve on a few things from the first game that we played and get a good score in that first innings that we can defend.
You played each other obviously on the weekend, 41 runs the margin. How did you feel kind of adapting to the conditions here in the Netherlands?
Yeah, I think obviously it was a quick turnaround for that first game, but I think there was a lot of good stuff in that game. But as I said, there's definitely a few areas that we'll look to improve on in this game today.
Seems to be a bit of a pattern of teams struggling to kind of hit those boundaries, kind of get on top of the bowlers in the middle overs. Do you think that's something to do with maybe the surface here or the conditions?
Yeah, well, certainly the first wicket we played on, there was certainly like a skiddy sort of nature to it, so maybe not as easy to get underneath the ball. So yeah, I think in terms of that, it's just the ball was really finding those lengths, and I thought Holland did that really well in the first game that we played them, which made it difficult to get the ball away. But I think there's still runs to be scored on the surface if you can get in and set on this pitch.
Well, look, wish you all the best. Hopefully getting the board today. That's Richie Berrington, the Scotland captain. So the news from the toss is that the Netherlands have won the toss and they've sent in Team Scotland. Andrew Leonard is standing by in the commentary box. Well, Lenny, this should be a cracker as the sun comes out right on cue. It's over to you in the commentary box.
Yeah, well, thanks to Vinny Sandu, and great to hear the thoughts of two fine leaders. Scott Edwards of the Netherlands, who's growing into the role in a very similar way in which Richie Berrington is growing into the role. For so long the deputy, and now in the hot seat. But we're all set for what should be another thrilling game. This tri-series has been excellent so far, despite the washout on game day 3, and after a much needed rest day for us all on day 4, here on day 5 we are set for action as Scotty Edwards is ready to lead his team out. There's a look at the fantasy dashboard for those that are playing. And one of the big pieces of news, I'll run you through all the team changes, is that George Munsey back into action. He was unavailable for that first game, and the unlucky player to miss out is Michael Jones for the Dutch. Well, it's a little bit of everything happening. 4 changes for them. Max O'Dowd, who's been in a bit of a difficult run of form, he goes out alongside Tejan Idamanoru. Pays a price for that duck the other day. Daniel Dorham, we believe, might be nursing an injury. And Paul van Meekeren there, the 4 that miss out. And in come Arjan Dutt, Sybrand Engelbrecht, Wes Baresi for his first appearance in the tournament, and Kyle Klein as well. He'll be looking to try and stake his claim as to why he should be on that plane for the World Cup. What does the supercomputer think? It reckons the Dutch are favourites on home soil. I think that's probably a fair call, but we made a prediction at the start that none of these sides would win every game that they play. I think we'll stick with that. The rankings as well, and they're getting closer than ever. The Irish side hold a slight edge, but for the Dutch to get into the mix for automatic qualification for the 2026 T20 World Cup, a couple of wins here, one today and then one in their final game against the Irish on Friday, would really aid their cause. It's an overcast day. It's nowhere near as warm as it was for the first 2 days, but the key thing is it's dry. And a big shout out to the Voorburg Cricket Club and curation team, who have done the most incredible job. There was puddles of rain, not just around the outfield, but all in and around the venue. After some very heavy overnight rain, there was a storm, in fact, and some storm surge warnings here in the Netherlands. Could be Arjan Dutt to open up the bowling to George Munsey and Ollie Hares, the power-packed left-handed duo that will open the batting. Munsey will take strike. Dutt will enjoy bowling to the 2 left-handers in a role that he performs very well in the power play. And we're just right on 5 o'clock local time. It's the final evening start of the tournament, with Scotland and Ireland having to get out to the World Cup. The next 2 games will be at 11 AM. Feels a bit more like October than it does early summer, but we're all set for play in game number 4. Andrew Leonard here alongside Vinny Sandu. Vinny's sprinted back from that toss he oversaw earlier. Vinny, great to be with you again, and great we've got play given that washout in day 3.
Yeah, definitely. I think both teams pretty keen to get on the park as long as it's safe to do so, which I think is a testament to the work ethic of everyone here at the ground. But yeah, good afternoon to everyone, no matter where you're watching from around the world. And once again, the Netherlands opening with spin. Arjan Dutt back in the side, did play the opening game. And Munsey, he's such a big in for Scotland, isn't he?
Yeah, huge return to the team. Loves to sweep, loves to reverse sweep most famously. And they already have someone out on the reverse sweep and on the conventional sweep. They're the 2 sweeper fielders, so a deep backward point and a deep backward square leg. This pitch looks a little slow, understandably, though.
Just uses the pace this time. There's Munsey, who has his first run. There's Kyle Klein, who's come into the lineup. Must be a pretty exciting moment for him, playing his first game for the full Netherlands side.
Yeah, big time. Kyle, brother of Ryan Klein, and certainly very similar cricketers in some ways, but both very accurate. Corey Ruckers was explaining to us earlier about what outstanding form he's been in. 2 ODIs and a T20 to his name, just 22 years of age. They all came out in Nepal on that recent tour.
Yeah, first game in this series for Kyle Klein. Has had a cap before. He's been taking a lot of wickets domestically. And this is Ollie Hares. He won't be able to score off his first ball. But Klein, one reason he's played his way into the side and into reckoning for the World Cup is because he has been troubling the top players here in the Netherlands.
Yeah, crazy numbers in domestic cricket so far this year, even though we're early in the Northern Hemisphere summer.
Because after this, big shout. Umpire has a look. Says no, perhaps just outside the line there at that around the wicket angle. Maybe a bit high as well. See where it hit him, even though he was down on his haunches. But Dutt keeping things pretty tight early. Just the 1 run off this over, last ball to come. I'll have 1 down to the long on, who's back as one of the 2 outfielders. Very tight first over from the home side, 2 without loss.
Yeah, Tim Pringle does the fielding down there. One of the traditions that the new Dutch setup has started. I think a lot of the teams are actually doing it now. I know Nepal are doing it. I think from Nepal. India have stolen it as well. They have a fielder of the day. And Tim Pringle won that the other day, and they've got kind of what you describe as a well-worn hat. It's had a little bit of action into it.
Well, that shows how much things have changed, because we used to have a hat, but it was for whoever dropped the last catch. So good to see it's being used in a positive fashion now. And Pringle had a kind of red letter night the other night, didn't he? This is the series so far. Now we're into the second half, but the second round of matches. Netherlands won this contest on Saturday by 41 runs, and Ireland won by just the single run against the host side in match 2. Unfortunately, match 3 was washed out without a ball being bowled. So here we are. And I suppose Scotland kind of now whenever as far as getting this series going. And here's Viv Kingma, who took 4 wickets in that win over Scotland on Saturday, who's going to bowl the second over.
There is Viv's house. I know you're watching maybe on one device. A lot of people dual screen these days. If you do want to keep us on the smart TV or on the tablet, got one for you to look up on the phone after.
Pretty much right on target first up.
Get over to the KNCB socials channels. I think it's on both Twitter and Instagram. There's a little video of Viv Kingma's day in the life of Viv Kingma here at Voorburg. It starts with him hugging his mum, giving her a kiss on the cheek, and then walking off to play international cricket, the mere 15 to 20 yards to get onto the playing surface. Then a highlights package of all the great wickets he took and we commentated on, and then followed up by a lovely trot home, a celebratory player of the match trot back, greeted by one of his dogs.
Kingma won't get a wicket here, but he does get a dot. Yeah, I saw that, and gotta say, I did leave a little bit of a comment on the Facebook page. I think the KNCB were asking, how would you like to live here? And I said, well, it looks pretty good, but the only negative is maybe you'd have Viv Kingma as a neighbour. But it is a pretty unique story, isn't it? It's full international ground here at VCC.
It's so cool. It really is. I think it's something that will hopefully capture the imagination of a few. He's one of my favourite cricketers. He has been for a long time. Can't think of another quick bowler in the modern era bowling in spectacles.
This one's well knocked down in the infield, and this tight start continues from the Dutch. I think it's going back. I'm trying to think as well, and even going back further. I can't think of too many seam bowlers that have bowled it in the specs.
And they tend to go flying off, that's why. But if you think about the pace battery that he's had to kind of get by, often, particularly when the big events came around, he was one of the unlucky ones that missed out. Shane Snater, Tim van der Hoogten, Brandon Glover, Paul van Meekeren, all these guys playing in Dutch county cricket. It wouldn't have been available all the time, and then when the big events came around, all of a sudden he was the unlucky one. Now he's leading the attack, and he's off to a World Cup.
Here's 1 off 6, wants to force the issue, but this one barely gets out of the infield. He will double his score there. Yeah, it's showing a lot of resilience, I suppose, coming back from that disappointment to miss out on the World Cup squad last year. I know that he's probably as thrilled as anyone to be on the plane next week, and he's coming in very good form.
He really is. And there is the Kingma residence on the left of your screen. I think we could be in for a turgid T20 today. I'm not expecting a free-flowing one. It might be interesting to see what the Scots will adjudge to be a defendable total. Chasing hasn't been overly easy. Both of the sides that posted scores have defended them in the series thus far.
This one won't beat the infield either. Well, I think it is a good toss to win for the host side, especially because this pitch has a kind of green tinge to it, but I keep getting told it's hard underneath. It's not going to do too much. So far, we haven't seen too much evidence of sideways movement in this over from Kingma, though. It's just been an interesting kind of series. The batters have struggled to get on top in the initial stages and even the middle stages. It's only been right at the end we've seen flurries of boundaries almost when the situation required it. 2 off the first over, just 1 off this one so far. Last ball the second from Kingma. That's a good one. Whistles past the outside edge of Munsey into the side, and after 2, not too much happening on the scoreboard. Scotland 3 without loss.
It's not going to be easy, Vinny, I don't think. Just want to call your attention to one thing here. We've moved, 3, maybe 4 pitches across to the left. And certainly there must have been a temptation, given that the original plan was to play 3 on the first pitch and then play 3 on the second one that we've moved on to now. There must have been a temptation to stick with that first one, given it only had 2 full matches on it. But I do empathise significantly with the ground staff, because it's a miracle actually we're back out playing today, even though there's some sunshine now. That's the points table, and the Scots, well, really, to get into the mix, they're going to have to likely win today. You would think a defeat today may well consign them to second or third in the table, as Dutt's going to continue.
So sticking with spin this time. First one goes between the batter and the stumps, and Edwards doesn't handle it cleanly. They'll get through for what I think is going to be a bye. But yeah, luckily yesterday was a day off, because I don't think we would have had any play yesterday. The volume of rain we had, there were thunderstorm warnings for the area as well. It did rain pretty heavily for most of the evening, so I suppose a little bit of luck in that respect. But well done to the ground staff. They've obviously made the call they think is the right one, knowing the field better than anyone. Once he backs away, but again, can't penetrate that infield. Only singles so far. I want to say a quick hello to everyone in the live chat as well. And if you want to get a bit interactive, you can with us. ECN European Cricket Network on YouTube. I know that Mr. J Grant is watching from Scotland. I know who he'll be supporting today, no doubt. Saying he loves the modern windmill in the background. Modern take on a Dutch classic. Another one beats Hares on the inside of his bat. Well taken that time by Edwards.
And these two boys just going nowhere at the moment, aren't they? They're power-packed hitters. You look at the 9 associates going out to the T20 World Cup starting next month. All gets going with 2 associates, USA and Canada and Texas. USA, big win last night as well.
What a win.
Dusting off Bangladesh.
Oh, that one's gone completely wrong. It's going to be a no ball, I think, for height, because it was forward, it was above the waist. But that was the mystery ball taken to extremes by Aryan Dutt.
Well, Vinny, I say this with love. But there's a little bit of European Cricket Network has seeped in to the guys there. That's a howler. And absolutely, he's actually going to feel as though he missed out on 4 freebies there. Probably should have got that away for 4 or 6. Yeah. A free hit to follow, though. It has slipped like a bar of soap out of his hand, Vinny.
Hope Edwards has his life affairs in order as well, because that could have easily gone through him. Anyway, free hit coming up and a chance for Scotland to get going, and that's exactly what Hares is going to do. He'll get it up and over the infield, and there's the first boundary of this T20 International.
Yeah, Vikramjit Singh just sliding in the deep. It's that kind of a day where you'll probably use the surface to go down onto it and skid it along off it. It's luckily not too soft. It's the only good thing, but a good stroke. Funny how the mindset just freed up to know he couldn't be dismissed, so happy to pump it down the ground. And he will get the first boundary of the day.
Goes leg side this time, but it's straight to the fielder, who takes a few steps in and drops the catch. He just didn't pick that up, did he? That's Bas de Leijder out there, who's probably among the best, if not the best, of the Dutch fielders, but he couldn't hold on to that chance.
Well, he held a very similar chance and made it look incredibly easy just 3 days ago. That should have been taken. He's got both hands to it. Maybe worried about the slightly soft underfoot conditions. Never looked convincing under it, Vinny. And Ollie Hares has a life put down on 6 off Aryan Dutt.
Dutt goes a bit quicker this time and tucks it round the corner. End of the over, 12 without loss after 3. Action packed over there from Aryan Dutt. Look, I take your point saying that's very European cricket, but I saw some first-class cricket in England during the week, and Zach Crawley brought up his 100 off a double bouncer that went off the pitch, that it was smart enough to keep 1 foot on the pitch when he hit it, because of the new law brought in a couple of years ago that said you can't hit a ball if you're batting off the pitch. So I don't know if you caught that one, Lenny, but that was a pretty unusual one as well.
I did, and the umpires adjudicated and said it's not going to count. So he celebrated that 100, which didn't count. Now, luckily, he didn't get out on 19. Yeah. He did go on to complete the 100.
But it should have been a run, right? Because he was on the pitch when he hit the ball.
It was firstly said with love, and secondly, in the Northern Hemisphere, early season, April, May, when the rain's about, when it's cold, anything can happen. I remember I certainly bowled a few that might not have landed on the cut strip.
That's why we love it right here anyway. Here's Kingma continuing his spell. And still this fairly barren start continues for Scotland. Hare's given a life in that last over. Munsey, an inclusion in the side for the first time in the series today. He's having a little bit of a sighter so far as well. I suppose with these two using up so many deliveries, the question is, can they kind of cash in and catch up through the next phase of their innings? Drives this on the up. They take on Vikram and he'll get a single. I want to say a quick hello to Isaac, who's watching from Tasmania, saying he got up at 1 o'clock in the morning to watch this match. I know Maya Patel's watching from the UK. That's the beautiful thing about our viewers on ECN. They're from all around the world, not just Europe, not just this immediate area. Monica's watching from Colombia and South America as well. So I say buenos dias to you as well, Monica.
Yeah, we've had some lovely feedback as we get a little bit of a look at the horses up in the paddock end and a couple of the crowds. Nowhere near as big a crowd today as we saw in the first 2 games.
Little inside edge this time, won't escape the keeper.
But we've had some great feedback, particularly from back in Ireland, who are, I know they've played some of their lower level stuff on the European Cricket Network before, but they've never been in full international action here with your team, Vinny, and certainly I think everyone's really enjoyed the broadcast. It's a small crew that put it together, but I think the volume of cricket that they do alongside yourself obviously means you've got a great system to cover it. And been some really good stuff. We've had a few viral moments floating around, and the standard of cricket's been really good. I think all 3 of these teams will go off to the USA and the Caribbean next month with real hopes of making some big upsets and getting to the Super 8.
This one's hit on the up, and this will beat the field. There's going to be the second boundary of the day. Hare's kind of taking a bit of a chance, but he finds the gap and finds the boundary.
Yeah, good stroke. Obviously a bit of risk involved. Throws the hands at it and gets enough of it to get 4 more. These 2 are similar in some ways. Hares won't sweep or reverse sweep nearly as much as Munsey will, but they're both bludgeoners, aren't they? They both go at the batters. You look at their strike rates, you say 4 off 9, 11 off 14. You wouldn't think that, but their natural inclination is to attack. And actually, if they could adjust and even get to, let's say, 35 for none after 6, I don't think that's a bad start, because they certainly have the ability to catch up then with all those wickets in hand too. Not a bad start this for the Scots.
This is hit on the up as well. Springs off the bat of Hares. And this will also find the rope. So yeah, taking a couple of chances, but paying off as Scotland trying to get their innings going.
Yeah, good innovation here by Hares, because on a slow pitch, this isn't an easy shot to play at all. He's managed to get it up and over. Lovely stroke. Look at the fluency of that. Clearly identified the part of the ground he'd like to target, and with us having moved across, it is that little bit bigger out that side square today. And they do have a bit of flexibility even on the leg side for the left-handers here out towards the Kingma household to still make it a solid 65-metre plus square of the wicket.
Tries to take on that leg side to finish the over. So Kingma goes for multiple boundaries in an over for the first time. 9 off that one in total, and the score 21 without loss after 4. Yeah, you mentioned that it's the first time we've had the full Irish and full Scottish squads, I should say, even the full Dutch squads on the network. But I suppose there's a bit more crossover with some of the squads that we have in the Dutch and Scottish squads.
I think with the Scots and the Dutch, you've seen plenty of them really enjoy the T10 stuff, and even some of their clubs have featured on the network for the Irish senior sides, the likes of Paul Sterling, Andy Balbirnie. You know, it's amazing to have a test nation here. There are the groups that they'll all play in next month. In the USA, Group A will be solely based India and Pakistan, the big rivals for Ireland. But you look at USA's performance overnight, I don't think that surprised many that know their associate cricket well. And they may well be thinking of a first ever series win over a full member. They've got 2 more games in Texas there against Bangladesh, Canada round 8, that group. Scotland will be based entirely in the Caribbean. They've got, God, terrible venues, don't they? Barbados, Antigua, some of the most beautiful islands in the world. And then for the Dutch, well, they go absolutely everywhere. Change in bowling, Logan van Beek comes into the attack, replacing Arjan Dutt. He certainly is looked in really good rhythm. The 4 changes for the Dutch today, is that very much an indicator of we want to get game time into everyone who could be on the plane out there?
It's a little bit of both, I think. I know Dorham's a guy they've seen a couple of times now, and he might be nursing a slight injury at the moment. Nida Manuru, he's a surprise exclusion for me, actually. I thought I could benefit from him getting another hit. Wow, that's going to be gone. What a catch that is. Clipped away by Hares and pounced in the infield, and it's Levitt that takes the catch.
Well, what a grab this is. I'll tell you the brilliance of this. He's had to land on the artificial. He's in and around it there at mid-wicket. And Hares, who was taking a few risks, he was taking chances, trying to exploit this power play. He perishes attempting to do so. Oh, that's superb. Very difficult to take this, Vinny, and then hold on when you don't know what the impact's going to be. But they make them tough here in the Netherlands, even though he's landed, I think, with both elbows on the artificial. He's clung on, and the Dutch have a breakthrough.
Well, I think priority one was to catch the ball and then worry about the landing later. But Levitt levitates almost on the magic carpet there as he pouches hairs for 15 and the first wicket falls. It's 22 for 1. Van Beek's had a pretty good series as well, hasn't he, so far? Let's have a look at this catch one more time. Almost like a slips catch, wasn't it, the way he took it? Off to the side, fingers pointing to the side, and made sure he protected that ball. There was a bit of an impact between the natural grass surface and the artificial. But that's a top catch, and I suppose that drop of hairs earlier in the innings doesn't go on to cost them too many.
A really good effort from Levitt. I think he's somebody, you kind of think of one player to watch from each side of the T20 World Cup. He might be the one that excites me the most because you're just not sure how high his ceiling is yet. And it could be really, really high. Certainly if the early indications are anything to go by. He could go out there and have an absolute shocker, facing 150 kilometers an hour for the first time, coming up against Marco Jansen of South Africa, or facing the mystery spin of Sri Lanka. But I think he's an exciting player. He really is. He'd be the one that I'm probably going to be most keenly watching from the Dutch to see how they go. Tear to the crease.
Oh, Tear missed out the other day, and he's going to get a bit of heat from Van Beek first up.
Oh, this was a beauty. An exhibition of outswing bowling here. You think about Van Beek and his value to this Dutch side. It's hard to overstate it. I know he played a long time ago. I think he might have debuted all the way back in 2013-14. But he went away from the Dutch team for a long time. He's come back to it. And that value, Vinny, it's not just with the ball or with the bat or in the field. He feels to me to be quite a paternal figure in and around the squad. He's got so much experience from New Zealand domestic and first class cricket. I think he's the kind of guy that every side in the world needs. You want a Logan Van Beek in your team. Yeah,
you're right. Caught a bit of a triple threat, didn't we? Expression you might hear on Broadway, but he has a little bit of that sparkle, doesn't he, Van Beek? We saw that super over performance against the West Indies, for example. Genuine bouncer this time, and this one is going to be dropped. Well, it was an absolute Class A goober, really, for Levitt, who just took a hanger. This one, he had several bites at it, but he couldn't quite hold on.
Well, welcome to cricket. Some things, they never make any sense. They really don't. You can hold on to the most spectacular catch. I reckon you hit this to Levitt, I'm going to say 98, if not 99 times out of 100, you're going to take it. He's had 1, 2, nearly 3 goes at it as well. And oh dear, that is, well, it's a dolly, isn't it? It really is. And Munsey's got a life on 5. 5 have been bowled, 23 for 1.
He just seemed to kind of not be stable with his base there. Kind of on the move, kind of in the air when he probably didn't have to be there, Levitt. But let's welcome you into the commentary box, and we'll try not to drop the ball in here. Vinny Sandu here, Mr. Maximo. Got Andrew Leonard with me. Coy Ruckers will join us before too long. But yeah, an interesting start. Don't know whether it's to do with the conditions or maybe just some accurate bowling. We've seen a couple of chances put down, one very much held that was a difficult one, but something for everybody so far in the first 5 overs.
Yeah, also most importantly, from a fashion perspective, we've really had a shocker. I've kind of melded into the background, and Vinny, how do they even see you at the toss in that green?
Green screen me, but we probably green screen you as well.
I'm kind of melded in.
No, white on white is, that looks pretty cool.
Okay.
Let's have a little bit of a look. By the way, we have international cricket coming up on ECN later in the year with our Euros of cricket, 32 nations. I want to talk to you about this, maybe Lenny, as Klein comes in for the first time. He's into the side, his second T20 international. He gets worked away for a single first ball. But look, I know it's great. The World Cup is 20 sides, the most there's ever been. But I'll say that again. We have 32 nations competing in our Euros of cricket later this year.
Yeah, and for me, that's genuinely awesome. It really is. And are we saying that the Czech Republic or Malta or Greece are going to be at a World Cup in the next 4 years, the next cycle? No. Could they be there in the next 2 decades? Absolutely. Why couldn't they be? And they have a pathway and a platform to do so now. One of the great things about the European region, you look at the change now for the T20 World Cup to regionalise qualification, the 8 spots. Europe's actually the most populous region in terms of the number of different nations competing. There's over 30 that will be looking for the 2 spots in 2026. Could end up being quite a bit more than 2 if Ireland, Scotland and the Netherlands go well, both in the rankings and at the World Cup itself. What I would love to see, Vinny, and this is a genuine possibility, is 2 of Ireland, Scotland and the Netherlands getting to that next World Cup automatically. I'll tell you why. Because you'd end up with a position whereby really the Dutch salvaged these 3 teams on the last day of the 2022 World Cup. So that meant that there was 2 spots, but the Dutch were there automatically. So Ireland and Scotland were favourites. Italy nearly upset the apple cart. But if 2 of them got there automatically, it means there'd be 2 spots for Europe. And okay, let's say it's Ireland and Netherlands that take the 2 automatics. Scotland will then be very heavy favourites to take one of the 2. But who's going to take the other? That's a real dogfight. Jersey, Germany, Italy, Spain could get themselves in the mix.
The top 30. I know Corey will be in a moment and he'll probably have something to say about that. But yeah, couldn't agree more. Klein, tight start from him. It's the genuine bounce, the top edge. That's going to fly. And 4 runs to Munsey. He'll take the boundary, but it's not particularly convincing.
Yeah, a little bit fortunate here for Munsey, but I think what he'll say is he knows that fine leg is up in the circle. He knows that he can just throw the bat at it and get good reward. He's had a life, dropped on 5, remember? He's looked nothing like his usual powerful, devastating self. He's just taken a while, understandably, to adapt to the conditions. But who would have thought that, Vinny? 2 of these 3 can get there automatically. It's absolutely a realistic possibility we will see Spain at a T20 World Cup. Imagine you'd said that in 2010. You'd have been laughed out of the place.
Yeah, it's a good point. We'll touch on that again in a moment. Here's Klein. Gets driven to mid-off, no run there. There's Vikram, who may or may not get an over. Maybe these conditions suit his kind of medium pace.
And I know you're going to kick me out of the box in 1 ball, so I'll get off my speaker's cart in a second. But I'm telling you something more. I think the ICC should be looking at going to 24 teams in this T20 World Cup sooner rather than later. Because what we're going to see in a month's time, over the course of the next month throughout the USA and the Caribbean, it's a lot of associate wins. We saw one yesterday. Easily could have 6 groups of 4. And it would make a really good competition.
This goes down in the follow through here, Clyde. And Andrew Lenny Leonard steps out for a second, but I'll just touch on that point. I think it would be great. I'd even go as far as say maybe 4 groups of 6. Get more of the associates playing against the full nations and create a greater proportion of these kind of next tier nations involved in the World Cup. And I know that ECN we think of as not in a year or 2, but we think of it in decades and a whole generation. So it would be exciting to see an Italy or a Spain or a Germany or an Austria or even a Malta. One day, Malta almost beating the England 11 at the ECC last year. Kenny Sandu here, Mr. Maximo for ECN. Into the power play, 29 for 1. As Andrew Leonard steps out, I'd like to welcome ECN commentator and Spanish national team coach, Corey Ruckers. Corey, welcome.
Yeah, good time to be joining you, Vinny. Interesting start to this game. Pitch does look a little bit more tacky than I said in the pre-match. Still one of those sort of things where I feel like Scotland just trying to build themselves into it. Munsey's still there, given a life. Can he cash in?
Pringle gets the ball for the first time and he's swatted away out of the ground. Maximo! Munsey thinks now's the time and he jumps ahead of Pringle.
Well, if there is one man you don't want to drop, it's Munsey. He can get on with it both sides of the wicket very quickly. It's a lovely shot. And Pringle, who was almost the hero a couple of days ago, gets introduced with a big 6.
He probably likes this matchup, doesn't he, Munsey? Ball turning in, angling into him as well. Pretty short square boundaries today as well. Goes after this one again. He finds the gap, and that one is going to be out of the ground as well. Maximo back-to-back as Munsey rolls the dice and comes up double 6s.
Yeah, no Dorham in the lineup today. Pringle's the lone left-arm off-spinner. Maybe this was a little bit of a gamble from Edwards to bring him on against such a destructive hitter. 6-6, pick up sticks, and, well, wouldn't be surprised if he just backs himself to keep going here, Vinny.
Once he catches up in the space of 2 balls now, he's ahead of runner ball, and so are his team. Change of angle now from Pringle. Think of 2 here. They're going to take it on a tight turn. But well judged by Munsey. Gets back for a couple.
Yeah, brilliant running from Munsey and Tear. Really good indeed. Ollie Hare's already in the sheds. Plenty of batting to come. Barrington looked in really good flow the other day. So did Cross. So he's 14 off 3 balls so far. This over's gone Scotland right back into this contest.
Now Munsey wants to go again, and this one's going to disappear. So it's our first magical over of this T20 International Series. 20 have come off the first 4 balls of Pringle.
Such clean striking from Munsey. It's another sort of half volley from around the wicket this time, but you're right, matchups in T20Is, even in 50 over cricket, they do matter. Maybe this was one the Dutch, were, hindsight never loses, probably would look back and go, bringing on the left arm off spinner to Big Munsey was a big risk, and it's not paying off for them. Top batting from the Scottish opener.
Almost like he's bided his time, Munsey. Now he sees something he likes. This is all with up to 5 outfielders allowed at this point. It's faster, isn't it, from Pringle, who does get a dot in for the first time.
I think it's worth saying as well, the wickets actually moved a few to the left, a few pitches over, so they're big hits on the leg side. He's cleared the rope quite comfortably. Last ball, the 7th, Pringle needs to get out of it.
He will to an extent, but Munsey will retain the strike as the 50 comes up for Scotland after being sent in by the Dutch captain Scott Edwards. They're 50 for 1 after 7.
Yeah, so doesn't this game just change in ebbs and flows? All of a sudden, Scotland look like they've got a pretty good platform to really bloom from. Looking at the bowling figures so far, would have been tempted maybe to go Aryan Dutt another one early with the right arm off spinner bowling to Munsey, but obviously Scott Edwards loves to sort of spread out his bowlers. Kyle Klein, Logan Van Beek. Logan Van Beek easily could have had 2 wickets in the first. Unfortunately, there was that easy drop at mid-wicket. Looks like they'll go. Sorry, Vin. It looks like they'll continue with Kyle Klein. And heard we were just talking a little bit why he's forced himself into this team in the Pro Series. He was the leading wicket taker by quite some money. He took 14 wickets for 65 runs, a 6 for 7 at Hermes Cricket Ground. The next highest in the squad was 5 wickets from Aryan Dutt. So he's literally kicked the door down, so to speak, to make himself play for the country.
Yeah, that's insane, isn't it? Same kind of numbers. Let's see if he can replicate that at the international level. He's into Munsey. He's heating up. He's going to go up in the end. He's just going to get the ball away from Vikram. He'll chase it down, but they'll get an easy 2. Just going back to what you said about Aryan Dutt. Yeah, he kind of took the words out of my mouth. It kind of seemed like that was working, and it's always a tough one for the captain to decide, I suppose, with Dutt. If he'd given him another over, this question, will he get away with it or not? When else would you like to bowl him or not? Just seemed like a good time for him to have another over.
It's one of so many decisions that captains have to make on the spot. It's never easy. Munsey off to a bit of a fly now.
Fraction short, and that one is monstered out towards the long boundary and is tapped over. Maximal for Pringle. This isn't 10 minutes of his life that he'll enjoy watching back. Don't know if he has a play on that or not, but the result is 6 runs to the Scots.
Boy, the noise off the bat, it sounded so good. Maybe a little bit more aerial than I first thought. Pringle gets a hand to it, but it clears the rope. Munsey's raced to 38 now. That was only slightly back of a length. Read it perfectly. Pringle got the left juke up, just couldn't bring it down with him.
Yeah, if he'd taken off the other foot, maybe he's got a chance there. You see, he kind of jumps, and I think he would have landed inside with the ball. Well, cricket's the great leveler, as they say. He was almost the hero the other night, wasn't he, against the Irish?
You don't drop George Munsey. Netherlands, last couple of overs, they're up against a man mountain.
Pitched up this time from Klein and tipped away from a single. So after a very sedate start, this innings has kind of come to life, hasn't it, in the last couple of overs?
Well, I was out there before the start of this game, Vinny. I was looking at the wicket, and obviously it's one of those hybrid stitch-in wickets again. Yes, there is a layer of green over it, but all the players were having talks and putting the finger into the length, and that it is rock hard. It is firm. So that shot from Munsey on a length, you can really, if you can sit back and pick the length early, the ball will travel here. 59 for 1 now. Good partnership blooming, all from Munsey.
Glanced away once again. Klein goes down in the follow through. They'll push for 2 here. They're going to get it. As Kingma takes his time getting around there. Klein goes down in the follow through again. Is that something that he does a lot?
Funnily enough, yeah, every now and then he can go over the top. He's an energetic bowler. Does get it through at good click. He's really deserved his place in this team. Earned it through weight of wickets. He's bowled okay here so far, but he'd love to get one. Break this partnership.
Tia would love a score. Batting in the number 3 position. Plays this with soft hands. Say a quick hello to everyone in the chat and to Sunil. And actually we've got lots of viewers from Nepal, as always. Of course, they'll be a part of the World Cup for the first time to be at the big dance. Well, say hello to Andrew.
They'll be watching this game closely because first game they've got the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So obviously all the supporters and all the fans would enjoy that.
That's a good point you make there. We haven't talked too much about Group C either because it doesn't feature any of these teams.
Namaste to all our Nepalese viewers.
Namaste. Also from the Taklu Diet. He's still in the back of the box.
Oh!
Now, gets a bit inventive and funkalicious does Tia. And he just played that one to perfection, deflected away from Scotty Edwards, and that's the end of the over. What a shot, 65 for 1.
Tell you what, brave shot. Might be a cool conditions at the ground today, but that's the hottest shot I've seen in a while. On reverse Malachi. Just thanks for coming. Scott Edwards knew straight away that's 4. And well, you would tell your bowler, hit a good length, hit a good line, and then you get reverse ramped for 4.
Yeah, but I think he does play this on length because that's the kind of length that Kyle Klein's been hitting so far. If it's full, if it's kind of Yorker length, then that becomes very, very difficult and very risky. But it does take us to the end of 8. And you mentioned Nepal. They are playing the Netherlands in match 7 on the 4th of June, their first game.
Well, for both those teams, Netherlands and Nepal, absolutely massive, isn't it? If you happen to lose that, then you're going up against a couple of giants to try and stay in the World Cup. So on June 4th, those two teams go up against each other. And what a group it is for the Netherlands. I mean, with 3 full members, South Africa, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Dallas, New York, St. Vincent, St. Lucia. It's a pretty good tour, Vinny.
Sure is. Dallas, Texas for cricket, and that's going to be scorching hot. That time of the year, that part of the country. Spaz Delata comes on to bowl. He gets pulled away first up. 3 fielders guard the leg side boundary. Slight fumble could create it too. Tier was always wise to it. He gets back easily.
Yeah, just a fumble there. Delata, good to see him with the ball in hand. We got to watch him with the bat the other day. Wasn't bowled, just watching his workloads from Durham. So this game, given the green light, he can bowl. Good to see.
Not often we get out-cricketed on ECN, but I do have one our Nepali viewers will absolutely love. I'll tell you after this ball from Pastelada. Just glanced away fine, and that's going to be 4. Just slightly erring in his line there, Baz, and he gets glanced away to the fine leg boundary.
Yeah, brilliant batting, isn't it? There's Tom de Groot, head curator and groundsman, doing the mopping up. He's done a lot of mopping up in the last 24 hours.
Why isn't Tom still playing? Is he just so important as a curator that...
He was in the famous T20 match at Lord's.
Yeah.
Batting at number 3, I believe, to help the Dutch get over the line. Now does all his work out here at VCC.
When Broad's throw was a little bit too broad, and they brought up the winning runs, despite not hitting a ball, I don't think, in the last 3 overs. Down the ground this time. It'll be 1 run.
This is some sort of counter punch from Scotland, isn't it?
And well, they need to come out and get their week going, and Munsey's a very good addition to their side, obviously. I was going to say, though, that one thing we've had on the only record I can think that mainstream cricket has us on, it's the 9-ball 50 by Dipendra Singh Airy for the Nepali side in that T20 International. And the best we've done is 10. Today we had another 10-baller, but no one's ever scored a 9-ball 50 on the network.
Yeah, that's going to be a record that will stand the test of time because it can't be beaten. Delata, he needs a wicket for the Netherlands here. Scotland building a really nice partnership thanks to Munsey.
Cuts back a bit at Tier. Gets a bit of bat and jams into the leg side. Hello to Pine Desert Sports, who says, just got into cricket this week. The Ireland versus Netherlands match on Sunday was the first match I've ever watched. Well, that's a pretty good match to have first up.
Yeah, that is a pretty good standard. It's not always like that, but good time to join the cricket fraternity and welcome. Contest brewing here. Scotland have that platform that they were looking for. Really good counterpunch after the first 5 overs, only went for 23.
Genuine bouncer this time. That'll be the one for the over. It's in a heartbeat. Munsey's rocketed to 46 off 29 balls.
At 5 overs down, 23 for 1, you're thinking, oh, it's looking a little bit stoppy in the wicket. They're not looking full flowing, but credit to them. This has almost been 50 runs in the last 5 overs. Flying along, some lovely shots. It was that Tim Pringle over the 7th that went for 21 that sort of shifted this game's momentum.
The whole power play went for 29. On the walk this time, maybe a slight change of pace from Delata. Does get out of the over in the end. 8 come off that, and after 9, Scotland 73 for 1. I love the interaction we get with the viewers on ECN. It's something unique and special about what we do. But Elon Musk saying right now that Nepal will beat every country in the World Cup. And Elon Musk, well, he's often ahead of the curve. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be something. Having a look at that long batting lineup to come. Barrington, Cross, Leask. And then finally, they've got that big platform. They can really enjoy the last 11 overs here. A good finish, 9s and over, 10s and over. Will be up to something they'll definitely find defendable. hate to say it, you don't want to emphasise too much on it. Levitt took a hanger. It was a very good catch, but that dropped catch, just one of those moments. Cricket's a great level, and since then, Munsey's clicked.
And Scotland not really in wicket trouble today like they were on Saturday when we last saw them. The only time we saw them in the tournament previously, they were 16 for 3 after 4, and their middle order were kind of stifled. They were limited, I think, in the kind of risks they felt they could take. That shouldn't be the issue today.
Well, having Munsey come into this lineup just adds a whole other layer. It's such a dangerous top order batsman. He wasn't there the other day, but he's definitely here now.
And Beek switches ends and bowls the 10th over.
He just adds that other layer to them, and when he clicks, he is one of those players that goes at 150 quite easily. There's a lot of franchises around the world also. Beautiful work, beautiful ground today. A lot of credit has to go to everyone involved because the downpour we had overnight was extreme. So very thankful we're going to get a full T20I in here.
He's bowled him round his legs. He gets too far across and shows too much of the furniture, and Tier has to go for just the 9. Van Beek breaks through, 73 for 2.
Van Beek 2 for 2. Could easily have had 3 for already. Interesting shot option. Fine leg was back and deep square was back. He went for the big slog sweepers. And Van Beek saw a bit of leg stump, hit the top of it, and a big wicket.
He moves a bit early, but I often think if a guy's not really, and this is the better tactic, more attacking tactic from the bowler to attack the stumps rather than follow the batter. Always got the chance of hitting the stumps behind the pads when the batter moves that far. So disappointment for Tier as he departs 73 for 2. The captain, Richie Berrington, will replace him at the crease.
Yeah, Berrington, the skipper, comes in. Plenty of experience at the crease now for the Scots. Came in a very dire straight the other day, batted beautifully.
Yeah, probably one of the shots of the tournament so far. Rattled the trees, didn't he, at the paddock end. Berrington very, very experienced. Also into the 10th over, so the players will take the opportunity to have a little bit of a huddle as we approach the halfway point of this innings. Yeah, not as big a crowd, obviously, being a weekday here in the Netherlands, but I was really impressed with the size of the crowds we had on Saturday and Sunday, Corey.
Yeah, that sort of family vibe out here in the Netherlands. It was a sunny weekend and everyone came out in their droves. Credit to everyone that's rocked up on this Wednesday out. A little bit more cloudy and a bit more traditional Dutch weather, you'd have to say, but I'm sure they'll enjoy all the action. Still 2 more games to come in this series.
A little bit of support for Scotland as well, I noticed, just around the grounds. Got a fair few expats from Scotland that live here that I was running into the other day. They were actually pretty disappointed that their match versus Ireland was called off. Unfortunately, that was the only possible course of action. So it has a bit more of a, what's the word, almost like a village ground feel today, doesn't it? Even though the cricket on the field is anything but village.
No, it's a very high standard day. It's very high standard indeed, I should say. But yeah, it is a little bit more low key. Cool conditions. Still heating up out there. At 73 for 2. Barrington coming to the crease. He made 39 off 29 the other day. Came in at 16 for 3 and really started to anchor the innings and batted beautifully with Cross. The Netherlands will know if they don't get him out early, they'll be chasing a score of substance here.
I say anything but village. However, Aryan Duck did give us one village cricket moment, didn't he, with that ball that slipped out.
Yeah, it has been a bit wet and wild in the Netherlands the last 48 hours.
So Van Beek will get a crack at Berrington. Van Beek 2 for 2 off 8 deliveries bowled. Continues to perform for the Oranje.
Just plenty of experience, 10 years plus. I heard Andrew Leonard talking about earlier. He's really become the cornerstone and leads this fast bowling attack.
Very experienced pair at the crease now for Scotland. Right on the money first ball from Van Beek. How do you think Berrington will play this? Obviously, he's a very attacking batter in his own right. But it's a funny kind of phase of the game, isn't it? And you've also got Munsey at the other end who's up and going.
I think Munsey being at the other end's a lovely thing to have when you come out to bat. You've got someone that's ticking along, so really, I think Barrington's thinking singles to start. Obviously, if there's a ball on offer and he gets to put it away, he will. But, look, work a 1, get to the other end.
Oh, he's nicked off Barrington for a duck, and Van Beek does it again. They say things happen in threes. Well, he does have 3. Big moment in this first innings. And Scotland 73 for 3.
Van Beek is on an absolute terror here at VCC Voorburg. Also his home club in the Netherlands. 3 for 2. He could have had Munsey already also, that was dropped. He is bowling beautifully. You know what you're going to get from him, but it's another thing playing it. And right now, he's bowling Netherlands ahead in this game.
It was a tentative prod, wasn't it? It was always going to be above the height of the stumps. Just got a bit big on him, didn't it, Van Beek? Well, he knew straight away that he had his man. The captain has to walk off. And well, it's been pretty good weather for Derek the last couple of days. He'll make an appearance following the Scottish captain off. And it's 73 for 3.
Yeah. Well, it has been good conditions for the Ducks recently. Good to see them appear from time to time. What clever bowling. Banged that one in a little bit back of a length. Got it to kiss the wicket. A little for their edge, and the Dutch knew straight away. This brings the other man that was part of the sort of fight back the other day, Matthew Cross. He was in sensational. And he led the line, 49 off 32, 3 sixes and 3 fours just a couple of days ago. Can he imitate that sort of form again?
Yeah, huge fan of Cross. Have been for a long time. He batted very well. I will mention now, probably shouldn't, while Munsey's on 46, there is a bit of a half-century jinx on this tournament so far. A couple of 49s, but no 50s.
Yeah, quite remarkable, isn't it? There's so many good batters in this country right now playing this tri-series.
Van Beek on a heater. 2 to come in the 10th. Cross gets across and tucks him away to get off the mark.
If you're Edwards, Scott Edwards, national captain of the Netherlands, would you be tempted to go Van Beek again, or would you be saving him at the death? Because these figures, fantastic.
I'd be tempted to bowl him out, only because these conditions, this ball right now, this pitch, new batter, probably the best chance to get Munsey at the moment as well. You've still got other options to come. So I'm kind of a fan with going who's on fire right now.
Give him his
probably
third.
Same reason I would have gone with Duck third over.
Yep.
I suppose sliding doors moment. You don't know how it'll turn out if you did it another way. And I think he's still got 2 overs to bowl Van Beek, so I think definitely bowl him a third. Last ball of the 10th. And the next time this one will be called. And Munsey probably has maybe the biggest reputation of any batter in Scotland, just speaking to a lot of the players that play in the Scottish system, players that we've met, for example, on ECN. They always say, imagine Munsey was playing on ECN cricket. It's a Yorker here from Van Beek. Will dig this out. Think of 2, but Van Beek jumps on it pretty quickly. He's got 3 for 5. I'd like to try and take the ball out of his hand. Good luck. It's 76 for 3 after 10. And let's welcome you into the box. Vinny Sandu, Mr. Maximo for ECN. Once again, great to have your company. Special welcome to everyone that might be watching ECN for the first time. I've got Corey Rutgers here with me. And yeah, pretty interesting start to this. Obviously, Dutch coming out of the blocks pretty quickly, but Scotland fighting back, but now hitting a bit of a hump with a couple of quick wickets.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of pressure on Munsey and Cross to make sure they get up to that 150, 160. Because Netherlands have looked pretty good with the bat in this series also, but overall their bowling's been magnificent. I think Scotland, from what we saw in game 1, where they where they were probably a little bit under par with the ball and in the field, I expect a pretty big performance later. So if they do make 150, Vinny, plus, they'll be pretty confident.
It'll be pretty competitive, no doubt about that. Don't forget, the cricket never stops on ECN. In fact, we'll tell you more about that in a second. First, this is going to get drilled over mid-off, and that will be 50 to Munsey. He brings it up off 31 balls, and after the start he had, it's quite a remarkable turnaround. And George has arrived here on Dutch soil.
Yeah, there's certain players around the world, Vinny, that if they get in or you give them a life, they make you pay 51 off 31. He's timed the ball beautifully in the last 5 overs or so. And, well, there's still a good 10 overs in this. If he bats the whole 10, Vinny, we could be on for something quite big.
Nicely played by Munsey. Certainly would love to double up. Does have 2 T20 International hundreds. Gets one closer with this shot. 11th 50 as well in T20 International cricket for George Munsey. Certainly showing why he's so feared at the top of that Scottish order.
Well, I'm just going to go through some of his last T20Is for you, and this is in 68 versus Canada, 37 versus UAE, 36 versus Canada, 75 versus UAE, 26 versus UAE, 21 versus UAE. So the consistency that he's just producing, we're talking about players coming in. They missed him the other day. Coming in to do that as opener, regularly, a few ODIs in there as well. He's just in a rich vein of form.
It looks it, doesn't it? I suppose the gamble to be a bit watchful and get used to the conditions early has paid off handsomely so far. Cross was a good ally for him. Hit the ball well the other day. Probably hit it better, more consistently than any other Scottish batter we saw. He's going to get at least one here, just the one, in fact.
Yeah.
Steep backward square.
Hands on head from Kyle Klein then. Just nipped back a little bit off the surface, and Cross got a little bit of bat down on that.
Arian Dutt. I was wondering how long he'd realised before. He's almost had a wardrobe malfunction. That was so close. And I think he didn't even realise.
Did you remember the one a few years ago? Andrew Strauss was fielding. His glasses fell off his head and he threw.
That's an all-timer. Munsey back on the rack. Pulls pretty well, but Pringle's got this cover, just a single. I was trying to think of some other kind of equipment malfunctions in cricket. Maybe you can share your favourites with us, ECN European Cricket Network. We've had a few. Had a question from Ramesh, who's actually a Romanian national team player, asking, is Kyle Klein Ryan Klein's brother?
Yeah,
sure
younger brother. Plays his cricket out at Harvey S. Crayonouts. I know they'll all be tuning in, whereas Ryan, the older brother, plays here at VCC Vorberg.
Cross drives and get a single out to Pringle. I'm sure that makes for some good sibling rivalry in the club matches here, if they do ever play against each other.
Can confirm they actually in Padel. I don't know if you've ever played that sport, but there is a very big rivalry growing there. Good to see Ryan Klein at the ground here today. I don't believe he's in the squad, but he's here as part of the maybe reserve players. So good to see him also. Last ball, the 11th. Munsey back on strike. He's got to 53 of 33.
Lifted up over the leg side, and that's going to find the gap and is going to be over the top. Maximo! As Munsey monsters another Klein delivery out of the ground to finish the 11th over, 90 for 3.
There's a monstrous hit. Over pitch, maybe a rolling off cutter. He picked it, and he picked it well. Another big 6 to Munsey. He's really ticking here, Vinny. He's making it look like he's playing on a totally different wicket to everybody else.
I was going to say, it shows a lot of confidence in the pitch. So I think he spots that's a little cutter. He still will go kind of against that perceived movement and back himself to get it, and he gets the gap. So Scotland has a bit of a feeling of now or never, doesn't it, as far as their campaign goes. If they could get a win here, they would tie Ireland on 3 points. Still a game to go against the Irish.
Yeah, if they don't win here, the other flip of the ledger is they can't win the tri-series because Netherlands would be too far away from their points total. Looks like Scott Edwards ringing the change now. Buster later is going to be brought on from the city end.
Yeah, mentioning a lot of cricket on ECN. Obviously, you've got Portugal night series ongoing at the moment. Ramesh, who's playing for Romania, he'll be playing in the Continental Cup that will be showing quadrangular series Friday to Sunday this week as well. Delaney goes full first up, and Cross will get a single, bring Munsey back on strike. Yeah, so I think I counted we've got 6 more series starting the next 5 days.
It's a busy time. It's that time of year in Europe especially, isn't it? Summertime rolling round. We're in the middle of May.
Speaking of Dutch T20 club cricket, of course, this weekend we've got the finals day. 2 semis and a final right here at VCC.
Yeah, this year in the Netherlands they've put the T20 season first, so everyone's played 9-round singular matches, and now finals time this Sunday, which is going to be very exciting indeed. Here's a good matchup. Delayed bowling to Munsey. Does Munsey take him on?
He's timed that so well. Almost takes out the umpire. It'll be another single, takes him into the 60s.
Since about the 5th over, he has crunched everything. Almost any type of delivery at him, he's timed it beautifully.
The other thing is, obviously Pringle's a key bowler. He got taken down. He went magical. Do you have the confidence to bring him back, or are you looking for other options because Munsey was so devastating against him?
Yeah, it's a great point from you, Vinny. I think you want to bring Pringle back, but you just can't while Munsey's there because you know he can take it for another 20-run plus over.
Just drop kicked away nicely. That's into the gap as well. And it's going to be 4. Well, by luck or design, the placement of the Scottish batters has been pretty good, hasn't it, since the field went back, as Cross gets 4.
Well, this was a shot Cross was very good at a couple of days ago. I know Paul Van Makeren overpitched a couple of times. He chipped him beautifully on the leg side for 6. Another example here. Overpitched, leg stump, gets his hands and his wrist through the ball. Beautiful batting. Big pocket of space. And one thing, despite all the rain the last few days, Vinny, the outfield's quite quick. It is skidding on a little bit.
That's a good point. That was one of those ones that was kind of equally between 2 outfielders, so they were never quite sure whose ball it was. And it's hard to call that because you don't really know how far away the other guy is. Bit of nibble away this time from Deleda.
It's a true wicket. A couple of times the Dutch bowlers have really hit that sort of good heavy length, and it's flown through to Scott Edwards with the gloves. Really impressive display here from Scotland. 5 overs in. We're sort of in a bit of no man's land, so it's really good counter-attacking innings from Munsey. Good support here from Cross early in his innings also.
This one almost takes out the umpire again. Well, he's on that side because of the sun, but a fair bit of cloud cover at the moment. I'll be considering a move. As Arian Dutt still has 2 overs left in the bank. Delayed, obviously, his experiences with Durham have been a real boost to his cricket, haven't they?
Yeah, he's come on leaps and bounds in the last few years, obviously growing into his own with bat and with ball. Very versatile cricketer for the Netherlands.
This one, a slight change of pace, I think, in Munsey. He says, I've seen enough. I'm going to put that one out of the ground. It's Adios Pelota Maximo. In fact, that one has gone a little bit agricultural.
Well, I think the third umpire, fourth umpire might be bringing on a new box of kookaburras. I think that's gone over the fence, skipped on a few yards and into the drink. As that's a big hit for 6. And that will also bring up the 100. 103 now of 12 overs. What a turnaround this has been.
And early on, the expected score was around 140, 150. And a lot of the viewers were saying, hey, if they can get that much, that'll be very, very defendable. Now, saying 177 and climbing.
Well, I'm glad this is sort of happening, because in my pre-game intro, I did say 160, 170, because it's that firm. It's a rock-hard pitch. And at the start, maybe it was a bit tacky, but that tackiness is gone now. Looks pretty true to bat on. Munsey's looking very good indeed.
Well, the new ball is coming out, the replacement ball, I should say. Great wide shot of the ground there with the modern take on a Dutch classic. The windmill there.
That doesn't count as a windmill, Vinny.
It's milling because of the wind.
I'll take you to a real one. We'll go
well,
out.
now you're telling me there's not a real horse behind it.
It isn't a real horse.
Yeah, but come on, ask us anything here. ECN European Cricket Network on YouTube. It's great to see a few people in there. A few people mentioning the USA beating Bangladesh.
I was following that
Result.
game just on one of the scoring apps yesterday, because there wasn't too many streams up of it. Not that shocked anymore. With so many of these very good nations around the world. I know USA just beat Canada 3-0 as well. Canada is a very good cricket team, so they've got some good players that have qualified recently, getting better and better. And I know maybe some viewers around the world that don't know too much about social cricket go, oh wow, what an upset. It's not that big an upset. These teams are getting very good from that sort of 15 to 25 range around the world.
Notice they have more balls to select from than they had in the 5th Ashes Test last year. I think they get one that is quite similar.
You got to love the briefcase that the third umpire, official walks on with about 25 Kookaburra international balls. Beautiful.
It's very deal or no deal, actually. I think that'd be a better way to replace the ball.
Yeah, you have to choose the box.
Yeah.
And you get the ball that comes out. Brilliant.
And they offer you a ball, and you can decide whether you want that or whether you want to continue selecting cases.
If Rizwan Akram, the third umpire, comes on again, maybe we can get a shot of the briefcase.
That's pretty good.
Here's a positive move, I think, from the Netherlands. Arian Dutt. He's got a happy knack of keeping things tight. We'll need to here against 2 very dangerous Scottish batsmen.
And he's a kind of mystery spinner, isn't he, Arian? He's not your regulation off spinner. Has a strange kind of arm angle, something a bit different.
Quick. He's quicker than you think.
Loves a bouncer. Cross says, over to you, George. And they get a single off the first ball.
Well, obviously it'd be a little bit more difficult for Munsey to go across the spin, but boy, this man can play reverse sweeps, switch hits. It's a 360 player, so I'd be very interested to see what sort of field Scott Edwards goes with here. Yeah, you have a look here. He's putting in 2 tight covers, Vinny, and actually keeping deep point out for the reverse sweep. So obviously they know that this man very well, trying to cover as many pockets as possible.
Kind of wideish mid-wicket, still unattended. He liked that area to this angle before. Backs away and gets a little inside edge. So what do you think Munsey's thinking here?
Well, because you've got 2 covers that are tight, he's trying to back away and loft it over them or get it through this. There's a huge pocket of space on the offside. Obviously, Dutt, as you mentioned, he's quite quick, has a lot of variation. It's not easy to match up with.
I also think it'd be interesting to see if he takes on that big gap at mid-wicket, although if he gets it slightly wrong, he could hold out. So he's eyeing off that area right now. He does go the reverse, but he misses out. It's too full to sweep comfortably.
And there it is, the reverse Malachi. It's one of his favourite strokes. They do have protection back there. I mean, if you get it out the middle, it's still out the middle. Just misses out on that occasion. Good work from Edwards.
Yeah, it's always quite distracting when the batter switches around the keeper. Dutt has kept things pretty tight here to a guy who's in.
Yeah, he's a clever bowler. He's bowled once in this series before, Vinny. 4 overs, none for 21. Less than 6 and over. And once again here, 2.4 overs so far. Only 11. He always bowls in the power play. Just very clever indeed.
He tries a reverse. This time he absolutely nails it. 4 runs. It's a class shot from a class player as he swings his way into the 70s.
Oh, you got to love the sort of cat and mouse game going on between the fielders out there and Munsey. They had the man back for the reverse Malachi. Doesn't matter. Doesn't bother Munsey at all. He still plays it. He gets it even finer. Just beating short third. There's the sweep up. 4 runs. Brilliant batting.
Such a good shot. Such a good shot. Very tough to counter for the bowler as well. He's quicker and a bit straighter. It'll go to one of those covers and almost a chance. As Munsey scrambles back, they will get the single, he will get the strike. 109 for 3 after 13, but potentially this is a chance to remove the big Scottish opener.
Yeah, let's have a closer look. Logan van Beek, he's a brilliant fielder. Direct hit, gone. Another moment, Vinny, at this level of cricket. He was dropped earlier. There was a dropped one over the bar by Pringle also. Oh, these moments can change a 160 to a 180.
Probably not a run they had to take. They had the 2 tight covers in there. Probably a needless risk, but they get away with it. And Beek, mentioned him there, 3 for 5, still with 2 overs to go. You're a little bit surprised that they've gone away from him here?
Maybe not. I think they've had to use some other bowlers because Tim Pringle's only bowled 1. So they might be in a situation where they've had to use the 6th bowler to cover his. It's a funny one. While Munsey's there, they haven't been able to use Pringle, who was one of the better bowlers the other day. So all these matchups are sort of starting to favour Scotland a little bit. Looks like they're going to go back to Kingma, who has been very good with the new ball this series. He'd love to have a good spell with the older balls also.
It's kind of middle phase still, isn't it, for Viv? He comes on from the city end. Soft hands, drop down, and very good piece of fielding, but Cross was backing up and makes the single comfortably.
Yeah, Engelbrecht, who can throw with his left or right arm. Sensational fielding, but looked like he'd got to the crease pretty comfortably there, Cross.
Good judge of a run, Matt Cross. Very experienced campaigner. We'll see what kind of lengths Viv bowls in this kind of middle phase. I wouldn't quite say it's the death yet. Still kind of the middle overs for me, whether he tries to get a little bit of sideways off this pitch or whether he goes a bit more defensive with slower balls and Yorkers.
Interesting to see here, 4 fielders in the ring are all on the offside. Everyone on the leg side, back on the boundary.
On the walk and kind of slices this one away. Thoughts of 2, but Cross is happy with 1 and to hand the strike back to George Munsey.
Yeah, Edwards whips the stumps off pretty violently as well. Thought there might have been a sneaky chance there, but 1 more run to the total.
Judging by that, we're a chance of a cartwheel today because this stump came out so easily.
Oh, I think Edwards is a bit fired up out there. Let's have a closer look. Just thought maybe he's napping.
Worth a try. You never really know what's going on behind you as a keeper in that situation. Munsey misses out on this one, a shorter one outside the off stump.
Well, the short one's been the one that's troubled him today. There was a top edge earlier of Kyle Klein for 4. There was a dropped catch at mid-wicket off the short one. Every now and then with the short one, they've got it up high enough today. Just missed out on a few occasions.
It was a well-directed short ball, wasn't it? Because it wasn't in at the body or...
Just like the height. It's a great height, that, not a wide.
The other thing is if he wants to cut that, you've got 3rd up in the circle, got potential runs there. He's probably more of a natural puller to that kind of delivery, Munsey. And right on cue he pulls, but he pulls straight to the fielder. So Kingma on his home turf is the man who's able to get George for 72. Van Beek takes the catch out on the leg side boundary, and Scotland lose a key man. 111 for 4. Then Nelson strikes.
Boy, massive wicket in the context of this game. If Munsey bats through, they could potentially get up to 200. He's that good. It was a heavy length from Kingma. Played one of his fave shots. Just cramped for room a little bit. Couldn't release his arms, and Van Beek, he doesn't make many mistakes. Good catch.
He wasn't really in control of where he was hitting that, was he? He was just determined to get his hands through the front. There's a parting word to the incoming batter, which is Michael Leask. But Munsey, after a fairly sedate start, he turns his innings around. 6 sixes, 4 fours in his knock of 72, and he leaves his team in pretty good shape. 111 for 4.
Proper T20 innings, that 72 off 44. He's given his team a a red-hot chance of getting the win today. He's given them a platform, more importantly, for the last few overs in this first innings. He'll be disappointed, of course. He got a fair piece of that, just couldn't find the gap. As this man on our screens, well, he lit it up not long ago on the ECN network.
Yeah, he's very, very popular to our ECN viewers. Michael Leask, we've seen playing for the Scottish 11 in the Euros of cricket, but also playing for his club Forfarshire.
Oh, the Western Shield.
And, of course, I was about to mention, British and Irish Knights.
I don't think he's played for Scottish 11 yet. I think he's
played for Scottish 11.
Wasn't it just Forfarshire?
He's played for Scottish 11 as well.
Well,
22.
I'm going to say, so you and I will have a little look later, but
You're trying to out ECN me?
You might owe me one. Anyway, Leask, first ball.
What is your birthday coming up? Anyway, Kingmutt to Leask. First one played back, mid-off up in the circle. How about Leask? Scored a brilliant 90-odd in that series, the Western Shield.
Oh, he's a serious player.
He bowled really well, I thought, the other day in the middle overs. Really kind of choked up the Netherlands.
Yeah, his right arm off spinning, sort of like the Scottish Aryan done in his own right. He's got a lot of variations. He's very crafty. He knows how to tie up batsmen for room. So he's a dual threat right now. As he's batting, he's got a good platform for the team. Maybe take a ball or two to get himself in and then enjoy himself.
Kingmutt will be thrilled with this over. Look at his numbers. 1 for 12 off 17 balls bowled. Dug into the pitch a little bit. Leask will get off the mark into 14 overs. Scotland 112 for 4.
And this game just looks like it's got a different sort of look on it with Munsey not there. Seriously impressive innings. Cross and Leask, 36 balls to enjoy themselves. Good finish here if you go at 10 and over, 172. I think Scotland would take that. Have a look at their fixtures coming up for the World Cup. And Vinny, well, there's a familiar foe in the first one. Oh boy, I know what I'm doing June 4th.
Leask was pretty important in the win that Scotland had over England, albeit in the different format. But there's a bit of history between those two. Goes back more than a few hundred years.
Obviously, Namibia and Oman pose their own challenges. But how's the Scotland's draw? England and Australia. Pretty fun.
England and Australia. Imagine you have get some results in even just one of those. And Namibia and Oman, probably teams that they feel are both winnable. And Namibia obviously having a pretty good time at the moment.
Oh, so are Oman. Oman are coming on leaps and bounds.
Klein to bowl out. He gets hit straight. He gets hit long by Leask. It's going, and it's gone. Maximo! What a straight strike from the Scottish number 6.
I'm having flashbacks from watching Leask in Portugal about a month ago where he was bombing it everywhere. This man is a serious striker of the Kookaburra. It's over pitch, just lofts it beautifully. Long boundary straight, made it look small, 6 runs. He can really go. Some of the sixes I've watched this man, when he gets going, he's a brilliant finisher for the Scots.
Trying to think what Munsey said on the way in. Said, don't worry about the pitch, just bomb it. That's exactly what he's done there. Clyde, baptism of fire here. He's hit back straight pretty powerfully again. This time it will be handled by Vikramjit. Just get a long single there.
Isn't cricket such an interesting game? Klein's gone for 41 off 3.2. Wouldn't say he's bowled terribly, just been collected a few times, and that's the game. That single brings Cross back on strike. Really big turnaround after 5 overs in this match. Colin were on 21 and looked like it was going to be a really difficult, sorry, it was 23 for 1 after 5. It looked like it was going to be a difficult old innings, but they've batted beautifully since then.
Yeah, 29 for 1 after 6 as well. Into the power play. Steps across, glances, but well knocked by Barassi. Now he's a big inclusion as well for the Netherlands, isn't he?
Big opportunity for Wesley Barassi, the old timer who's been around many moons. He's a very versatile batsman. Interesting to see where they bat him. He can close innings, he can bat at 1, 2, 3, 4. He's honestly batted everywhere for the Dutch. So gets a big opportunity today. Max O'Dowd rested. So looking forward to seeing where they slot Wesley in later.
Klein trying to pull something out of the fire here. Have to get Leask before he can hatch. Pulled pretty firmly, but on the ground by Leask this time. So still got Van Beek. Do you think they're keeping him back for the death overs?
Yeah, looks like it. Definitely looks like it. They must be tempted to maybe go Pringle the next one, as there's 2 right-handers out there. I know he's a spinner, but Van Beek's got 2 still to come. They've got options. They've used a 6th bowler, so Edwards will have his thinking cap on.
Very fine this time. There's a little something on it. Ball is going to be pulled back just in time by Barassi. Kingma cleans up.
Well, every run matters. We saw the Irish do it the other day, the three amigos that went a little bit viral with that save, and they ended up winning by 1 run. All this work from Barassi. Get Dutch over the line later. Top work, good support from Vivian Kingma, and just pings that one back. Sensational effort there from Wesley.
Great work by our crew at Spring Media as well. Three-leg binds the result. Last ball of the 15th over. Last ball for Klein. And he's bowled it. Had to wait, but he's fired up. Kyle Klein back in the Dutch side. And he bangs that ball into middle and leg and sends Lees packing for 9. It's 124 for 5.
Well, I think the nickname Red Mist might be getting attached to him pretty soon. He gets one through, and it's a big wicket. Lees goes, maybe a little bit of nip back. I don't think he's bowled terribly. His figures don't really show how well he's come out the hand today. He's been caught a few times, but he gets a huge wicket, slipping it through. And Kyle Klein, he is pumped up.
Yeah, sort of veins on the forehead here, thanks to our HD cameras that were certainly energised by that delivery. Maybe nip back a little bit on Lees. Can we be disappointed because he was hitting them pretty well. But he will have to go for 9. Klein has something to show for his work. 124 for 5 after 15.
Yeah, Lees showed glimpses. That was actually his first T20I wicket, so you can see the emotions. Already got a wicket or two in ODI cricket. But yeah, first T20I wicket for Kyle Klein. Congratulations.
Yeah, well done. I know he's someone that's quietly confident about his ability to make an impact for this Dutch side. Chris Greaves comes out at number 7.
Well, we're going to get back to Pringle now as well to bowl to Greaves and Cross. So obviously they've had to hold him back because of the Munsey effect, which is a brilliant batting by George Munsey to hold back their main left arm offie because he's just of his presence at the crease. And now Tim Pringle's got a bit of work to do. Never easy bowling near the back end. I know he did it against Ireland, did it pretty effectively as well. He'll want to have a good finish here.
The Munsey effect definitely sounds like it should be made into a movie.
Yeah, it could be. The Munsey effect, pretty violent movie the way he bats.
Yeah, he would have a rating. Anyway, Pringle tries his spin at the other end now. And now does get to bowl at the 2 right-handers. Greaves comes in, not facing. Carr's wicket falls off the last ball of the over. Pringle's first over, remember, went for 21. It's kind of bringing back now or never, isn't it, for Scott Edwards? Tucked away, several fielders hair in to make sure there's no chance of a 2. So we'll get a first chance to have a look at Greaves.
Yeah, Greaves got an opportunity here to play a small innings of substance, a little cameo at the back end here. If he can finish well with Cross, still 170, definitely on the cards, maybe even 175, 10 and over.
The expected score was up, kind of high 170s. Obviously, the wicket of Munsey has had an effect. Now kind of lurking in the low 160s. And Cross has just kind of played that second fiddle role, hasn't he, so far? But with no Munsey, he'll have a bit more responsibility, I think, in getting that scoring rate up. Greaves happy to tuck this one away and get off the mark.
He gets himself going. Cross has been there for 12 balls so far. Looked pretty compact the whole time. Expect him to sort of take the lead in this last few overs.
Decides to sweep this time, and it's a little bit of bat on that one round the corner for a single.
Yeah, looking actually forward to seeing Chris Greaves with the ball a little bit later as well, Vinny. Another versatile cricketer. I think he could have a big impact on this wicket as well.
Again, going to that sweep. I think there's a bit of bat in this. If not, it was outside the off stump anyway. Pringle got a lot of media attention, didn't he, in the last World Cup for his, I suppose, unassuming facial characteristics for such a fierce competitor.
Yeah, a bit of a cult figure for a while there. 2 balls remain. Good comeback over from Pringle. His first did go for plenty.
Backed away and hit over cover. But Vikram is prowling and he'll take the catch. So Cross is going to go. We have 2 fresh batters at the crease. Pringle strikes back, and Scotland now 128 for 6.
Oh, brilliant bowling from Tim Pringle. He slowed this one up a little bit. Cross wants to go inside out over cover. Actually gets a fair piece of it, but deep mid-off was very wide indeed. Vikramjit Singh with a nice safe catch. It was slowed up. He tried to hit it to the pocket of space, but unfortunately, good coverage from Vikramjit Singh. A really smart catch, and just the Netherlands fighting back a little bit in the last few.
Yeah, he just wasn't in control of that stroke, and it kind of hung up in the end long enough for Vikram to make a play on it. So yeah, Cross will be a bit disappointed. Perhaps he didn't get it a bit better or thread the needle a little bit more accurately, but he'll go for a run of ball 14. It's 128 for 6.
One thing Scotland desperately don't want to do is waste this great position they've got themselves into thanks to Munsey. Very important here. They do have a couple of good overs at the back end. Mark Watt comes out now, and very destructive player in his own right. When he hits it, it stays hit, Vinny.
Sure, Watt's having a very good look about what this wicket's doing as well. We'll see him with his spin, I'm sure, in the second half of this innings. Great time for me to step out. And joining Corey Ruckers now will be Andrew Leonard for the rest of the innings.
So Pringle picks up a wicket. Good response from him. His first over went for 21. Picked up the wicket of Cross. We want to get out of this over with no more damage. Maybe even sneak another wicket. Nice start from Watt. He'll get himself off the mark. So a wicket in that over for Pringle. That makes his figures look a lot prettier. And after 16 overs, 129 for 6. We will welcome back Andrew Leonard, who's been watching intensely in the commentary cube. Andrew, interesting topsy-turvy innings. What an innings from Munsey, though.
Yeah, he played superbly, didn't he? And again, just shows his value, his worth. Okay, he had a life. He was dropped on 5, but didn't he capitalise the way in which he played after that really, really beautifully? It's put a lot of pressure on the 6 Dutch bowlers that have been used, and standout figures from Logan van Beek of 2 overs, 3 for 5, and his final 2, which could well be 17 and 19, you would suspect. Looks like he's going to come into the attack up there from the paddock end of the ground. They're going to be very, very important. The Scots, they end up shy of 150 or 160 here, given that flying platform that Munsey delivered to them. They'd really have tailed away quite poorly.
Yeah, just these wickets at the back end, or sort of with 4 or 5 overs to go, just stunting them a little bit. Here comes Van Beek.
Beautifully bowled again. He's looked a class apart. These 2 for Scotland, they're a critical part of the T20 side with bat and with ball, but so often at numbers 7 and 8, they provide very critical runs. They also love batting together.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit off air earlier about how important the number 7 and 8 role is. And in the previous game between Ireland and Netherlands, it was the 2 number 8s that were actually the top scorer, just showing you need to bat deep in these T20Is. That one jarred out to the offside, and Van Beek singing, but isn't that a thing so much more in white ball cricket? As a direct hit almost gets to flex throw. Batting deep and having players that can come in. If you're batting at 8, you only ever get 10 balls maybe, but if you can make an impactful 10 balls, you can swing a whole game.
Yeah, big time, and we're seeing that more and more in franchise leagues, that being recognised and rewarded. I don't think people understand how difficult a thing it is to do, to come in and strike at 150, 160, let alone 200 plus, right from the off. Not to have 4 to 6 balls. You think back to cricket when we were growing up, we're a similar vintage us too, and certainly you're always told, okay, your first 6, 10 balls, you just get in, see what the pitch is doing.
Needed about 50 balls to get the first boundary away. Van Beek to continue. He's bowled exceptionally.
I never lasted 50. Helped into the leg side this time. Yeah, these 2, they've got good memories of batting together, particularly that T20 World Cup run where Scotland went to the Super 12s, winning the group it was played in Oman. The only part of that tournament was played in Oman, shifted across from India to be hosted by the UAE and Oman. They were in all sorts of bother against Bangladesh. They were 53 for 6 when the 2 came together in the 12th over. Chris Greaves made 45, Mark Watt 22, and then 140 proved to be 6 runs too many for Bangladesh. Lots of associates getting joy against Bangladesh in recent times. And this is clipped very fine. Kingman will have work to do on his home ground, and I think batter needs to get going.
Oh, well, it's been given not out. Oh, that was close. Brilliant work from Vivian Kingma and Scott Edwards. This was tight, Lenny.
It's a long throw, isn't it? Because it's a 70-metre straight boundary, and he's only picked it up, what, 5 or 6 metres in from the rope. So to get that throw pretty accurately over the top, great glove work from Edwards. This looked close to me on first viewing. And a great decision. Eagle-eyed with Mbathi right where he should have been, but great athletic work. He's so fit, isn't he, Viv Kingma?
Next ball's defender. Yeah, he's fit, Vivian Kingma. Good to see him fit and firing for the Netherlands. Logan van Beek, once again, bowling a sensational over. He's got figures of 3 for 9. This was that delivery that you just might have missed. So we're looking at that run-out opportunity. 3 for 9. There's 19 balls left here. You're absolutely right, Andrew Lennon. Scotland do not want to waste the position they got themselves into. Last ball, the 17th.
Still think it's potentially a winning position as we get to the end of the 17th, and the score 133 for 6. Welcome you up here to commentary camera. I want to give you a little bit of information from something I've been studying in the last 10 overs here. For all of these sides, it's World Cup prep. I know they want to win this series as well. Who do you think the most prepared of the 9 associates going out to that T20 World Cup?
You put me on the most prepared of the
who's had the most kind of cricketing activity?
Oh, Uganda.
Since the last one. Oh, good shape.
I'm going to go Uganda.
You got that part right.
Is that correct?
Who do you think said the least?
Oh, Netherlands?
No, Dutch are right in the middle of the pack.
Oh, Scotland.
Correct. So not bad, 2 from 3. That's pretty good.
Pretty
good going from Corey Rutgers.
So is that just with not enough T20Is, or?
Yeah, purely T20I matches. So maybe a little bit of a trick question as Deleda comes in. But something I was just chatting to the Scottish boys before the start of play, and I think they feel a little undercooked.
Okay.
They've had some challenges off the field. We know about them, but I think the resilience and the togetherness of their group is the thing that impresses me the most. They've actually only played 5 T20Is, and one of those was a washout, since the last T20 World Cup.
Oh, okay, that's a very small substance, isn't it?
And it's about, okay, it's November 2022 to May 24, so it's a little bit of a misnomer. But if you compare that to Uganda, who played 18, you rightly picked the side that have qualified to play the most. Nepal, in fact, I've got that wrong. It's Namibia that have played 18. Uganda and Nepal have played 15. Ireland 11, Canada 10, Netherlands and PNG 8. Even USA, who've had all sorts of problems off the pitch, have actually ended up, it's only been in the last 2 months, playing 6. 5 games against Canada, 1 yesterday against Bangladesh. And it's the Scots of all the 9 associates who played the least on the pitch in between those 2 World Cups.
So do you think that then this tri-series and their warm-up games before their group have a huge amount of weight to find balance, to find team selection, to find their mojo again in the format?
Couldn't be any bigger, could it? And that's why a scorecard like the other day, okay, a classy partnership between Matthew Cross and Richie Barrington, 2 of the associate game's very best. For also a very long period, decade plus, both of their careers. Barrington the best part of 20 years now. But the rest of that scorecard, no one else made double figures. Munsey coming back in today, okay, he's the one that stands out by a mile, isn't he? If you look at his numbers, he's by a distance. He's got 72. No one else has made more than 15.
Bounce on there from Bustelanes can be seen. Yeah, it's a very good point. I guess there is an art to batting in T20 cricket, and if you don't have that regular sort of time at the crease and around the world and facing attacks, it isn't easy just to step into this format and get going straight away. So I guess there's a lot of weight on today, tomorrow, and also their warm-up games. Would you know off the top of your head who they're playing in the warm-up games potentially?
We'll get a quick look. They're mainly in the Caribbean, although I think they do nip up to Florida at one point, just very briefly. But they'll be in, I think it's Barbados to start with. They definitely have 2 warm-up games as well. A little bit agricultural from Greaves, it sometimes can be. You read out the numbers of Munsey, the current form numbers that include those 4 T20Is that they played. It was actually only 3 in Dubai because somehow they had one washed out in Dubai by that freak weather. And again, it was Munsey in those runs because he'd been at the ILT20. He has cricket under his belt.
Yeah, so it just shows even franchise cricket, you can take that form back into your international game. Good over so far from Deleda. Graves looking for a boundary. Might be another wide. It is signalled, so trying to dig it in. Just getting it a little bit wrong there. Good to see him bowling again, Deleda. Wasn't used earlier in the series, just played as a number 4 back. Can do that quite handily as well. Good umpiring from our officials out there, definitely too short.
Yeah, Scotland do have 2 warm-up games, actually in Trinidad and Tobago, both of them. This is clothed into the offside, but we'll get a single. They play Uganda on the 30th of May, and then the very next day, that's at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy against Uganda. And then the next day at that historic, iconic Queen's Park Oval, they'll play Afghanistan. That'll be a good test for the Scots. But you talk about that dearth of cricket. They were so brilliant at the T20 World Cup qualifier last summer. So, you know, that's the majority of the weightage of their games, where they've been playing. And that's just something that you think about. If you're not playing regularly as a group, how do you go about playing more often and getting better and finding a way to improve? But their resilience as a group is the thing that always shines through for me.
And why do you think that is, that they haven't had a big sample size in the previous couple of years? Is it just a difficulty with always finding opponents that are available? Is it time frames, financials? What are the main reasons you think they haven't had a big substance of games?
It's a bit of a misnomer, and the reason that your Namibias and your Ugandas have played more is others have had, well, this has gone a long way up. It should be a catching opportunity. It's Engelbrecht, is it, out there? He takes the catch. That's well judged. The wind swirled around a little bit. And it's Engelbrecht that holds on, and Deleda, who had gone the distance a bit, comes back with a wicket from the final ball of his third.
Yeah, all that pressure was brewing. And a couple of dot balls, a couple of singles, and this backhand, the push hasn't really come. He got a fair piece of it, but not enough. It's a long boundary out there. And Engelbrecht, one of the better fielders in this Dutch setup, takes a swirly one, a good catch over his left shoulder. And another wicket goes as the Netherlands continue this fight back. I guess, sorry to interrupt, I guess with what you're saying as well, we've seen it a little bit with the glimpses of the batting so far when we think of Scotland's batting so far in the tri-series. In the first game, it was a very slow start, one magical partnership, and then it fell away. Same in this one. The first 5 is very slow start, very good partnership, mostly from Munsey, and now it's falling away again. The last 4 overs have gone for only about 16, 17 runs, and they've lost 3 wickets.
Yeah, momentum is a massive thing. Everyone always goes, well, what is momentum? Well, it's quite simply, do you finish your first innings well, and can you take that into your second innings, even though you're performing a different art? Chris Solo he'll be at the non-strikers end for his first ball. But yeah, just to round out the point, I think the reason that the likes of Scotland didn't get as much, and then the likes of Namibia and Uganda got so much T20I cricket. Namibia and Uganda didn't get to the Cricket World Cup qualifier in the 50-over format last year. The same for the Dutch. Massive focus on the 50-over game for the best part in between the 2 cycles, and then you're almost scrambling for fixtures. And that's why these 3 boards came together to put on this tri-series. And it's just so important for all 3, but particularly for the Scots. Ireland have had the benefit of playing against Zimbabwe down in Zimbabwe, Afghanistan in Sharjah there in the UAE. The Dutch have managed to squeeze in some fixtures here and there when they can too. But for the Scots, they desperately needed these fixtures, and the result, a little bit more immaterial. World Cup is really the big thing, isn't it? That's what they're focusing on. They want to be at their best there, particularly for the battle against the old enemy from that first game.
I think you mentioned it was Paul Sterling saying at the start of this series, it'd be great if we could have more fixtures with these 3 boards, and look, we're all in Europe, we're all very close together, so it would be great to maybe make this an annual thing, maybe is it every 18 months if you can, because the level of cricket we've seen this week has been exceptional as well.
The one I would love to see, and we're in the last 2 overs, might not have time to cover it. Big swing and a miss. If Van Beek keeps bowling dot balls, we'll be able to. I'd love to see England join it. I would love to see a genuine elite European Cup of Nations, whatever you want to call it, the European T20I Cup.
Yep.
Asia has one, and it's a very successful tournament. They actually follow the schedule of the World Cups, and it alternates. So during a World Cup year, they played in the 50-over format, and then during the alternative cycle, they played in the T20 format. But I don't know how that couldn't be a success. Everyone will say, well, there's not enough room in the calendar. I disagree. You play it in May when, okay, you won't necessarily get a first-choice England team because you might have 6 or 8 players at the IPL. But that doesn't matter. Make them official T20Is. Play it in London. Dutch communities, Scottish communities, Irish communities. Make it a festival of cricket. You could get it all done within a week. And I'll tell you something. England wouldn't necessarily go unbeaten in those games.
Oh no, they've got a pretty poor history in T20Is versus the Netherlands, so to speak, and Scotland and Ireland. So it'd be very exciting. Look, I'm all for it. If you get more teams involved in a Euros of cricket T20, I think a lot of the fan base around the world, the cricket viewers, would love it also. Just quietly, look at Van Beek. He is bowling exceptional.
Yeah, out of his skin, isn't he?
This is one of those, this is the equivalent to me, and sometimes we always look at batsmen and Munsey, but a 3 for 10 or 3.4, this is the equivalent to a bowler's 100. To go at only 10, if he takes another one here, he's just looked like he's bowled a heavy length, You were touching on earlier how he's become the cornerstone of the team, 10 years plus in the orange shirt. What fantastic figures from this man.
Yeah, superb. We just love the concept. Why not host it at Lord's? Started off a full week of cricket at Lord's. What a great way to start the season. Test cricket then to follow it for the rest of the summer. I think you get really good crowds. You might want to play them as double headers.
Yep.
Have the England game second each evening so the fans can come in. Might not have a full house for the morning or the afternoon game, but under the floodlights in the evening. How would you not want that?
Exactly, and the way that Europe's growing, eventually maybe the next best place joins it, turns into a 5-team, 6-team, maybe it's an Italy or a Jersey or whoever it might be.
And so often, I don't think it's easy to compare cricket to football because there's just such a gigantic gulf between football as the most popular sport on the planet and the rest. But you can look at a rugby and you can say, well, hold on. Okay, will it be as big as the Six Nations in its first year? Of course it won't. Give it 10, 20, 30, 40 years, it could become a real cornerstone of the calendar. As this one's scooped down the ground, no real timing from Watt, but he'll pick up a couple.
Yeah, nice shot from Watt. Does get two. He hasn't found it easy going since he's arrived to the crease. 145 now up for Scotland. Just have lost that sort of energy. They're trying their best out there. Just sort of lost the momentum. After Munsey's dismissal, Lees came out, hit a 6 early, but then he went to Kyle Klein, and I think Netherlands will be happy with this late fight back. Last ball, the 19th.
Yeah, too good today, Logan van Beek. I'm not going to give him 100. I'm going to give him an 80-odd not out for 4 overs, 3 for 13, but it has been that good. It has been game-changing. Could it be match-winning? It could be yet outstanding from Logan van Beek.
Yeah, brilliant figures from Logan van Beek. 3 for 13. He sort of sticks out like a sore thumb there. Vivian Kingma also very impressive with 1 for 13. Arian Dutt, 3 overs, none for 16. Always has an impressive economy. All the bowlers have toiled hard. It hasn't been easy, it hasn't been their way the whole time thanks to Munsey. But I think Netherlands will go into the second half happy with this little fight back late. Looks like De Later has been given the nod to bowl the last. Sol on strike. Do anything for a couple of boundaries here, Scotland. Maybe 155. Definitely plays if they bowl well. It'll be game on. Here we go. 6 balls to go in the first innings.
And for the Scots, you've got to find a way to get 2 boundaries in this over. You've got to find a way to get past 150 at least and threaten 160. It's been, well, a brilliant comeback, hasn't it, from their bowlers. Sol none too happy it's not been given the one for the over. It maybe came through around his chest height.
Yeah, it's just the brakes have been applied, haven't they? A lot of plays and misses and clever bowling from De Later just under the shoulder, so no one for the over.
Last 5 overs, 34 for 3. That indicates usually in the last 5 you think you're going at least 10s, whatever the conditions. The Scots just haven't been able to get anything going.
Yeah, it was 111 for 4 when Munsey was dismissed on the 13.4th over, holing out to Logan van Beek off Vivian Kingma, and since then really the Netherlands have just dried up the well and there hasn't been too many boundaries. Watt's on strike now, fine legs in the ring, third man's in the ring. Here Lenny, does he get a little bit funky?
He often can. Instead he just tries to pump it out of the ground. I think he might have found the gap nicely. It's that kind of natural cow corner angle. There's a man at deep mid wicket, a man at long on. He splits them perfectly. Critical boundary, 150 up for Scotland.
Why get funky when you can do that? Picked it well, sat deep in the crease and just flat bats this through that big hole at Cow. 2 agricultural, doesn't matter. 4 runs to the total.
I think Scotland are still ahead.
Oh, big call. I like it.
I think in a big way. I don't think this pitch is necessarily as good as what we saw the first 2 days. There's the innovation. Doesn't get it though. King might run around it, but he'll keep it to a single.
Yeah, he's sort of almost back of the bat job. It ballooned up. Vivian Kingma with a big smile on his face because he just started running. I think he saw the batsman shape up. He turned and started to go. It's just skewed away, if anything. Right off the tail end, loses all its pace. Vivian Kingma is a character, isn't he?
Oh, he's brilliant. I just am so pleased for him. And obviously, touch wood now, doesn't get an injury, that he'll be taking the new ball for the Netherlands at a World Cup against Nepal in front of a sold-out crowd in Texas. Stuff of dreams from him.
2 to go.
Good change of pace. Deleda gets the fancy footwork out. No Johan Cruyff or Robin van Persie in the house just yet.
I was going to go Dennis Bergkamp for me, or Mark Overmars even, Patrick Kluivert. I like my Dutch football.
Give you a quick one about the Ireland-Pakistan series. Barry McCarthy, almost the exact same position, right boot, kicked it onto the stumps, an outstanding run out against Pakistan. Gave it a bit of the football celebration, the Hulk, the chest was out.
I think if we brought football celebrations into the cricket, it could get pretty interesting.
Yeah, plenty of them. Plenty of them. All part of the fun of the game. Last ball of the first innings. And it's smashed away. Is that a little momentum swing towards Scotland? It's almost out of the venue. Big moment, I feel that is. 158 feels a lot different to 152, and just something for Scotland to take in. It was really all about George Munsey, but something from Mark Watt to go with it. And Scotland, for me, slightly above par given the weather over the last 2 days. I think they've got their noses in front. They end with 158 for 7.
Such a funny thing, you were correct. 152 compared to 158 feels like a world of difference, and maybe, just maybe, they will take that momentum into the second innings. You said they need to find 2 boundaries in the last over. 1 through mid-wicket, 1 over mid-wicket, 158 in a topsy-turvy first innings. It's going to be up to the Netherlands batsmen to get them back into this contest and ahead. For Scotland, you're right, Lenny. I think they'll take that.
Yeah, Vivian Kingman not used for the final over. That surprised me. They went Deleda instead. Let's get a look at the best of the first innings. That was off a free hit, the first boundary to come. We didn't know what a good score was then. We felt it might have been, I don't know, 120, 130 in what looked like difficult and turgid conditions. Hares took a few chances, getting a few boundaries away over the offside before he fell to what I thought was a very good catch from Levitt, but just moments later, then the big catch was dropped.
Yeah, a fantastic catch to his left, diving on the artificial. Actually, it's never easy. You see he's got the elbow pads on there, Levitt. This was probably the moment. I know no one wants to drop a catch. It's an absolute goober. He's an exceptional fielder, Levitt, and it just didn't go his way. And from that point, really, a couple more wickets with Tare and Barrington going. This was the over that swung it. 21 runs off the Pringle over, and Munsey doing Munsey things.
Yeah, look, he's a brilliant player, and it's just a matchup that Scott Edwards might want to take back. Look at the power that he possesses. I think it's harsh to call that one a drop catch. Some were saying 3 drops. I think he was trying to save the 6 there. Maybe he should have. Some innovation from Charlie Tare, who only hit the 1 boundary in his 11-ball stay at the crease. And outside of really these big blows, a little bit of touch from Munsey, who had 10 boundaries in total. The rest of the team couldn't even combine for that. Between them, they only hit 8. And Scotland, they just kept losing wickets. If it wasn't Munsey, the rest didn't do a lot.
Yeah, that man on your screen, Logan van Beek, was a little bit of a heater today. He got Barrington very first ball for a duck, second ball, sorry, for a duck. And Kyle Klein, he was trying to imitate that. Got a little bit of tap today. Munsey enjoyed the pace of Kyle, played some pretty audacious strokes. And boy, he is strong. That bottom hand wrist flying through the ball. He was joined well from Cross in the middle, and these two, they look dangerous whilst together.
Yeah, I thought Crosses looked really fluent, and that's been after probably by his standards a pretty poor 18 to 24 months, so that'll be a big plus for Scotland. And Munsey just kept going, big hits, loves that reverse sweep. That was helped around the corner for 4. Sunshine coming out now, that might aid the Dutch cause in the chase, but I think if they were offered 158, particularly after Munsey was dismissed for 72, I think they probably had taken it. They've got plenty of runs to defend.
Well, it's a funny one because at this point when Munsey gets out, I think if the Netherlands said they only make 158, you might take that. There's the red mist of Kyle Klein, the first wicket in T20Is, and boy, he was pumped.
Yeah, love to see that. Love to see emotion at play. That was a big moment too. Brave bowling by Pringle, who tossed it up and said, hit me over there. Vikramjit Singh read it really nicely and made up for some of those blushes in the field. Good work too from Vivian Kingma, who nearly pulled off a run out, but safely home was Watt, and it was important that he did get home because after Chris Greaves was dismissed, he went for 5. He's been in a little bit of a difficult period with his form of late, not looked in any sort of fluency. A couple of late boundaries over the Scots. How important could they be?
You called it, Lenny. You said they need to find 2 in this last over, and off the very last ball, he launches that ball 80-85 metres. There's support and high fives from the Netherlands, but I think they'll know they've got a big task on their hands in the second innings.
Okay, one more quiz question before you look. Who made more runs off the bat? Was it George Munsey or was it the rest of the Scottish batters combined today?
It was George Munsey by about 2 runs, I reckon.
Wrong way around.
Oh.
The rest of the Scottish batters combined for 74. There was 13 extra, 73 in fact. It was only 1 between them. and 72 to George Munsey. That's how important his innings was. Okay, contributions, nice cameo from Mark Watt in particular, but the form of the rest of the batters, it will be a bit of a concern for Scotland.
Yeah, it will be a little bit of a concern, but well done to Munsey to get him up score. We have a look at the bowling figures today. Everyone chipping in a little bit. Interesting to see Dutt not bowling out, Kingma not bowling out. A little bit surprised by that, but maybe because of the World Cup prep, they want to put some overs into Delater and so on. But let's talk about Logan van Beek. Amazing. 3 for 13 off 4.
Yeah, absolutely outstanding. He's a special cricketer. He's a special guy. I think the Dutch are lucky to have him, and I think he's going to have another big World Cup coming up. Arjen Dutt not bowling those 4. Even more surprising than Vivian Kingma not bowling those 4, particularly with the left-handers in there so often. A bit of a misstep, I feel, from Scott Edwards, who's usually pretty good with his captaincy. But what it means at the halfway stage of this match number 4, the European Cricket Network Netherlands T20I Tri-Series. Scotland have made 158 for 7. Means the Dutch will need 159 to win to put themselves into a very good position to win this series. For Scotland to stay alive, they'll need to win. Can they do it? Find out with us live inside about 10 to 15 minutes time. Do come back and join us then. welcome back to this wonderful Voorburg Cricket Club ground here. We're not far from Den Haag for this game number 4 of the triangular series between Scotland, the Netherlands and Ireland. Not too far at all from The Hague, and then up the road to Amsterdam. There's Chris Greaves. They have a role to play with his leg spin later. Scotland, I think, will be pretty pleased overall. They lost the toss. They were asked to have a bat first on what looks like a very grassy and a little bit of a dark wicket, having had a lot of rain about over the last 36 hours, well, 72 hours really, to be honest. Nothing but rain. And it's a miracle we're out there playing and good to go for what will be a clash between two of the very best associates in the world. There's not a huge amount of others that can rival the pedigree of Scotland and Ireland across T20I and ODI cricket in the last 5 to 7 years. And as we so often see, they're ever so closely matched, and the Scots will take a leaf out of the Dutch book by opening with some off spin. And we're going to see Michael Leask open up to Michael Levitt, battle of the Michaels. And then Vikramjit Singh will be at the non-strikers end. All set. For the chase, it's 159 to win, 58 total on the board. Andrew Leonard here alongside Corey Ruckers. Corey, great to have you with me for the first 6 overs here. You think this is a bit more of a 50-50? I feel the Scots are in front.
I'm going to go down the line. I'm going to go 50-50 for me. I think a good power play would get them away, and yeah, it's always difficult to tell. Yeah, I think for me, 50-50. A good power play obviously sways things a little bit. Different top order today, Levitt and Singh. I'm looking forward to this.
Tell us about these hybrid wickets, maybe for people who haven't watched earlier in the series. It's been a little bit of a talking point.
Well, yeah, they're stitched in wickets from a machine, and they're very new and effective. New Zealand came and played on them a few years ago out here at VCC Voorburg. I think what we've seen, if you're a good bowler and you hit the deck hard, that's pushed into the offside for a dot, you can definitely get a little bit of nibble. I don't think there's been too much for the spinners, a little bit of turn here and there. Some players saying the odd ball will skid on, the other one will stop. So 150, 160 definitely plays. It's not under par, that's for sure.
Down the leg side for Michael Leask, that will be signalled as a wide. The reason I feel they're ahead, we've seen chasing not be easy. The Scots coming up short by 41 runs against a slightly higher total than this, and then 150 played 149 in the game between the Netherlands and Ireland, game 2. And for me, I'm not saying it's a bad wicket, but I don't think it's necessarily better than the one we played on in the first 2 matches.
Yeah, fair enough as well. I think I'm watching all the Pro Series games where I saw some comfortable chases. Makes me a little bit more clouded as that one's clipped away nicely from Vikramjit Singh. Ollie Hare's doing the chasing. That's got some legs on it. They might get 3 if Levitt's quick enough. He'll touch and go. Really good running from the Netherlands, and they'll get 3.
It's good recognition there immediately from Levitt. He saw he was chasing after it. Ollie Hare is probably not the most mobile in the field and gets through for the extra run. Well, look, who knows, we might have another final ball thriller that nobody could have quite predicted. That Ireland versus Netherlands game the other day. It was a second one-run victory in Ireland's T20I history, but if the Dutch had pulled that out of the bag, it would have been quite ridiculous, wouldn't it? A couple more wides to the total here. Leask starting a touch erratically. How impressed have you been with the 3 sides? Is it fair to say all of plenty of different things they're trying to work on ahead of the World Cup?
I think it's been mighty impressive, obviously. Nice to see a little bit more of Scotland, obviously. We've only had a small sample of them so far due to the rained out game also. Really looking forward to watching Ireland over the next couple of days.
This is pretty full and given. He's had a long think about it. But ultimately he's adjudicated it was adjacent. It really looked adjacent from behind. That's the only view we have of this live. Might get one more from the replay. He doesn't turn it hugely, particularly with the new ball. I don't think this is a bad decision.
Yeah, look, it was a massive appeal. It was hushed in the commentary box while we waited for the decision. It's difficult always to tell from here for us. But it looks straight, doesn't it? They were so confident, Scotland, and it works. Leask, the right arm off spinner to the left hand of Vikramjit Singh. It's a massive wicket early.
Big wicket, and the matchup works. That's why they had Leask bowling that first over, because they knew Vikramjit Singh was in there. It's always a good matchup. The ball turning away from the batter. And Vikramjit Singh, he's none too pleased with that decision, I don't feel. He's the first wicket to fall. The Dutch in early trouble. 7 for 1.
He'll be mighty disappointed. An opportunity to open today. Max O'Dowd being rested. Looks like it'll be Engelbrecht that will come out number 3. Just to touch on a little bit what you've asked me, yeah, I think so far from what I've seen in the Netherlands bowlers have been mighty impressive with their lines and lengths. I think Scotland's shown glimpses with the bat. And Ireland, obviously, the composure to pull out that win the other day was exemplary. We have a look at the World Cup just around the corner. These 3 teams highlighted there in Group A, Group B, Group D. And honestly, you could easily even have all 3 get through. They're that good these days. Why not?
Okay, but let's say only one of them gets through.
Yep.
Which of the 3 do you feel, with the draws and with the form that you've seen here, which is the most likely to get through?
Only because of the draws, the way they are, Netherlands. I think Netherlands are more likely to upset Bangladesh or South Africa. I just think for Ireland to beat Pakistan and India, always very, very difficult. And also for Scotland, Australia or England.
Chris Sol going to take the new ball from the city end of the ground. Yeah, I think it's a fascinating question. I think in many ways all 3 have an equal chance.
Look, for Ireland as well, USA are currently in red hot form. Scotland, Namibia and Oman away as well. Yeah, look, to be honest, every group is an apps. I'm going to watch Group C. I'm not going to watch A, B, D, because they're all unbelievable groups. It's going to be the most difficult for PNG and Uganda in that group.
Yeah, I think if you do look at the 4 groups, the one where you find it really difficult to see an associate go through is Group C. Chip back towards Sol and taken. Scotland have 2 and 8 balls. I made them heavy favourites at the halfway stage. This is why Corey Rutgers, brilliant take from Sol off his own bowling.
Well, that years of experience, I know it's a big birthday for you tomorrow, Lenny, has just come to the floor. 2 massive wickets. Does it stop in the wicket? Is he threw the shot too early? It doesn't matter. Levitt has to go. He's been in form. He just skews off the bat. Nice safe catch from Sol, and Scotland, well, they're in dreamland.
Well, I'll tell you, it is a long, long way back in this contest now for the Netherlands. I know they bat deep, I know they've plenty to come, but Levitt has to take the long walk off. Maybe the first real blip in this flying start to international cricket that he's had. He's gone for 1. The Dutch are in dire straits already at 7 for 2.
Yeah, they're in a little bit of trouble here as Buster Later comes out number 4. Still expect to see Scott Edwards, Wesley Baracely in the team. He's always good for for times of crisis, really, in Dutch cricket. But boy, they need a partnership.
What is Wesley Baracely's role in this side? I think many Dutch fans were disappointed that he wasn't used more at that 50-over World Cup, because he's a great player of spin, isn't he?
He's just a brilliant player overall. He can play spin, pace. He's batted all over for this country. Clipped away for 1. Yeah, I think Wesley Baracely's spot in this team as they double back for a very tight second. Good aggressive running. They'll get 2. I think Wesley Baracely's role is obviously to be a little bit of a hybrid batsman. I honestly think he's there for a crisis. If there was an injury at the top, or if he could bat from 1 to 3, I've seen him open many years in Dutch cricket. Of late, he's been at 4-5, and now they've been using him as a little bit of a closer as well at 6 and 7. So I think he's won his spot to the World Cup because of that fluidity with his batting. He can bat anywhere.
Yeah, 44 T20Is to his name. Worked off the hip again. There'll be more work for Hares to do. They'll get at least 2 here. When Engelbrecht think of the 3rd, he won't, because it's Chris Greaves that runs around. Of those 44 T20Is, he's kind of batted a bit of everywhere. He's opened in 8 games. He's batted at 3 and 4 more than anywhere else. He's also played at 5, 6 and 7.
That's what's won him the ticket in a funny way, because he can be anywhere, and you look at the conditions and the situations, and to have a batsman that's comfortable to do that, it's pretty different in this day and age. So, yeah, look, he might come out next, or maybe it'll be Edwards. You never know with Wesley.
Edged. Oh! There's a slip in place, but it's the strange floating slip at a second, maybe 2.5. Cross couldn't get anything on it. George Munsey, he just stares at his keeper and goes, I couldn't get anything on it either.
Can you believe it? Well, a little bit of luck for that. That is a genuine nick. And Cross, he knew it was just not his. It was wide slip in play. Well, that's a big bit of luck for Delator.
If you have a first slip in, that's out.
Oh, of course.
9 times out of 10.
Yep.
No slip catches are overly easy, but as they come, that was a lovely height. You'd have backed George Munsey with his big mitts to hang on to that.
It was like a video game edge where it just comes and the computer AI just takes the simple catch. But he was a bit wider. Last ball of the second. Oh, squared up again. What a top over from Sol. He easily could have had 2 in the over. And that'll be 2 overs complete in the run chase. All Scotland at the moment. It is 16 for 2.
Yeah, something that really struck me with Paul Sterling's captaincy, really since he's taken on the role, but particularly against Pakistan and again into this tri-series, was that he's always on the hunt for wickets. And he knows the importance of wickets, particularly in the power play. For me, if you've got a side in real early trouble, you've got 2 and 2, you've got Chris Sole, a strike bowler, it's not that you shouldn't have the second slip in, it's that you should have 2 slips in. You should be really attacking. The ball is moving about.
Yeah, it comes down to fine margins. There's the skipper, Barrington. He might be ruining the fact now, but hindsight never loses also. It's easy to say because you just go on I think it's an instinct. You go, maybe a little bit wide. I'm feeling a thick edge and it just doesn't go your way. Here comes Curry. What a bowler this man is.
I think I'd say that whether there's an edge or whether there's not. Because, okay, in this instance it would have created the 3rd wicket-taking opportunity, but it's not a bad move. If you go out as a batter, you know as a batter yourself that if you go out to an attacking field, immediately you're almost in a more defensive mindset. I know there is some aptitude now and some aggression that just you'll see batters continue to attack, but it can't be any easier when a captain's coming at you. And you put into the mix that Chris Sole can bowl at 150 kilometres an hour. He's not quite at that right now. We'll see him up at those figures, I think, in the World Cup. I think that's a misstep from Richie Barrington.
Yeah, totally agree. Have a look at this. Galeda skipping down, defending it. Keeper's up to the stumps. Is that confidence?
Well, probably just maybe trying to unsettle the rhythm, the length of Brad Curry. Because of Curry's pace, he's 72, 74 miles an hour, 120, 125 kilometres an hour. He's not going to freshen you up, but he will just get into a rhythm. And he'll just nudge you away there over and over again. He reminds me a tiny bit of a mirror image of Tim Murtagh, the Irish seamer, he's a rhythm bowler, isn't he? He's going to come in, nibble it about, and on a pitch like this today, I think he's perfect for Scotland.
Yeah, he could be very well suited to the surface. Crosses up at the stumps as well, so not too much pace to work with, but a clever bowler with the kookaburra in his hands. Engelbrecht will get his first delivery. The Dutch need a partnership, just a few steadying overs here, staying with the rate.
Oh, that is a beauty. It has done everything but bowl Cyran Engelbrecht from his very first delivery. I don't know how this has missed the off stump. It's probably on height. It's given us buys. 2 runs, 2 extras will go to the total. How is this missed?
I have no idea. Oh boy, on another day, that is timber, golden duck. Watch how close this is, Lenny.
You talk about Tim Murtagh nibbling it about. That is the literal mirror image there, isn't it?
But now you could, as a batsman, could get the natural angle that goes across, and that's the beauty of the left armour.
Oh, cleans him up. What a 2 deliveries. 2 of the best you'd want to see at any level. It's Brad Curry. We've just been hyping him up, and he's cleaned up Engelbrecht, the Dutch in tatters.
Oh, make a compilation of the last 2 deliveries. That is an absolute jaffa. Engelbrecht's arguably faced the best 2 balls of the game. That is pitched on middle and leg and gone right across him, hit the top of off stump. Oh, what a couple of balls to cop as a batsman. Watch this. Oh, it's just done him. That is a corker.
Well, these are the exact conditions that make Curry so good. He took 5 for 13 against Ireland in the T20 World Cup qualifier in that incredible final game up in the Grange. That is the tournament's best ball. It's the ball of the series. Just different gravy from Curry. And Engelbrecht, he's got to walk back. I don't think he's been dismissed for 2. I think he's gone for a second ball duck because I'm pretty sure the previous ball was buys. We'll get that checked.
We'll get that checked. But tell me right now, Andrew, what's he meant to do, Engelbrecht, after copping the ball before? What are you meant to do as a batter? The ball jags in, misses the top of middle. So then maybe you play a little bit inside and it jags the other way. Oh, that's sumptuous bowling.
Yeah, just superb. Absolutely superb. And Curry deserves every piece of plaudits that he will get for that. You have to remember, he's probably one of the best fielders in the associate game as well. He's a great asset that the Scots have picked up. And that left arm angle, every single side wants it. And Scotland have it. Munsey now comes into slip too. Edwards, well, he's going to have to be defensive to start with. Won't be able to do much more. I think there's only the one run off that over, off the bat. We will get that checked. It's 19 for 3.
What a start to this run chase from Scotland. 3 wickets. They are right up for this. They look like a well-improved outfit from the other day where maybe they came across the shore a little bit rusty. But those 2 deliveries, I'm not over that just yet, Andrew. Engelbrecht, you'd be sitting back in the dugout saying, why me today? Because they're 2 of the better deliveries you'll ever get off your first 2 balls as well. Edwards joining Delator. These 2 Barassi to come, but right now they need a really, really good innings from someone to step up and stay right in this game. Here we go, over number 4.
Still just the 1 slip in place as Chris Soules continue. You think of the resilience. I think that's the key word for Scotland to battle what they do. They've got a small playing population, probably not hugely dissimilar to the Netherlands. I just think that the pride in which they play for the badge for Scotland, it's so brilliant to watch.
Yeah, it is. It really is. A massive amount of pride. They love playing for their country, and they've put up some amazing performances in the last couple of years and in their history. Shorter delivery just nudged into the offside. This partnership, though, for the Netherlands will become the key one. Delator the other day was probably the most fluent of the batters for his 30-odd. Edwards is a grafting sort of cricketer, does hit the ball into peculiar areas, gets a captain's innings here today, has an opportunity right at the top. But right now, hard to look past Scotland who are, well, using this surface beautifully.
Yeah, that 159 looks a long way away right now, but still plenty of time for them to catch up. We have seen some, well, really remarkable finishes. Even, you could argue, in the very first game of the series, Scotland got themselves into a position where they looked dead and buried to then what was maybe a winning position before that remarkable collapse at the end.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of collapses in this series so far, in moments where teams with the ball in hand can take a couple of wickets in quick succession. So Edwards now, he's on strike, yet to get off the mark for him. And it does look like they are listening to you a little bit. A slip in a gully, not a second slip, but slip in a gully in place now. So Scotland going for the kill here. Sol again.
Punch down the ground, going to be probably a couple, you would think. Gavin Main does the fielding and does really well. Saves a run there. Just a quick correction, it was indeed runs. There was a little feather of an inside edge that we somehow missed for Sybranda Engelbrecht, so it won't be a duck for him. I, as always, bow to our scorer's greater wisdom. Yeah, I think I got duped by the umpire signalling 2 to his colleague as opposed to a bye. My fault, apologies.
Well, I think that's why we have the best scorers in the business. I don't think that'll give any solace to Engelbrecht, though, that's still got the 2 best deliveries I've seen in a while. Short ball, Delator rides the bounce beautifully, and that's going to go for 4. Well, had his head sort of ducked at the point of contact, but watched it all the way onto the bat, and a much-needed boundary for the Netherlands.
Yeah, much more like it for the Dutch, and it's Delator who almost kind of a ducking hook, isn't it? He's rushed for pace. Sol has got probably the best wheels in the associate game. I can't think of anyone who bowls quicker than him.
Ooh. Put the challenge there in the associate game. I've gone silent here, so I'm going into the almanac now.
And that's a lovely flowing square cover drive through the cover point region. Back-to-back boundaries, bit more like it to get the Netherlands home crowd on their feet, and a little bit of clapping, bit of support for them. Good batting from Bas Delator.
Yeah, lovely shot from Delator as he crunches that one through the offside for 4. A little bit of width on offer this time, and just had to catch up with it. Apologies for the graphics that aren't on your screen currently. We'll get those fixed. The score is 29 for 3 after 4 overs.
Yeah, I think the reason you'll stay silent, there's no one quicker, I promise you, in the associate game.
USA, Ali Khan?
He's in the sort of early 140 to his peak. He probably averages 134 to 136.
Brandon Glover, Netherlands.
Can't see him being clocked at 152.
Trying to, wonders if it's one of those cameras that's not always perfect. That adds 10k somehow.
From chatting to a few of the players down in Zimbabwe at that ODI Cricket World Cup qualifier last year, even the Test nations were going. Very nearly cleans another one up. Edwards getting himself in a tangle. They haven't seen anyone bowl as quick. And yet Alzari Joseph at that tournament, you have to remember. And Joseph has been clocked up above 150, but Sol, he was bowling thunderbolts. He gave a few indications of it the year before. There was an ODI series, Cricket World Cup League 2 up in Aberdeen, and he came in off a long run up there, and I hadn't seen a quicker associate spell. Obviously at that level you don't have the benefits of the speed gun, but then when you went up to that Cricket World Cup qualifier with the ICC TV team, Sunset and Vine and all the guys, all of a sudden you were starting to believe with your eyes, and he parlayed that performance into immediately being called up for the CPL. He's had a few injury troubles since then. It's great to see him fit. I don't think he's quite in at that 150 level here right now. I think when it comes to Barbados, he just could be.
Very impressive bowler, and a good bowling to have with Curry as well. That sort of opposites attract sort of thing. The bowling in partnerships, as Curry's a little dibbly-dobbler that can be very crafty, and right now he's bowling an exceptional spell. As Edwards just sort of scuffs him down the ground for a single.
What if you counted Ireland as an associate?
Well, but we can't.
Well, come on. We're associate at heart. I think everyone in Irish cricket will say that to you. What about Josh Little? He's
rapid.
Is he quick? Up towards at 150, definitely in excess of 140, I reckon. He's in the form of his life, I reckon, at the moment as well.
He's going to add a lot to that squad.
Oh, I tell you, when he comes, that's why I think when you were saying the Dutch are the most likely of the three to get to a Super 8 spot, I just wonder, could Ireland maybe do Pakistan and Florida? They'd need the other results to go their way. Like, they're no guarantee to beat USA. I'm not saying they are, but if India did basically, let's say, win 4 from 4, and Ireland were able to get past USA and Canada, it could be a head-to-head on the very final day of the group stages.
That would be a 50-50, to be fair, on your day who you rock up. I guess the reason why I go for Netherlands out of that situation is just the very recent history over Bangladesh and South Africa and their T20 form as a country. You can't discredit any of these three teams.
Oh, now what is this done? Curry is very interested. Cross isn't at all. It's kept a bit low, isn't it? Might have just pitched outside leg.
My initial reaction was just pitched outside leg, and you see Curry confirming with the umpire there. Closer look, more than likely pitching outside leg. Almost nutmegs him a little bit as well. Does end up going through, but another dot ball. Scotland have come out the blocks beautifully here. 30 for 3. One ball left in the 5th. They've bowled exceptionally.
The LBW is always tricky for us from the reverse angle. I think we'll just bow to the umpire's wisdom as always from the paddock end. Outstanding over. Well, Brad Curry is doing his best Logan Van Beek impersonation right now. The two standout bowlers of the day by a distance. One left arm quick, the other a right arm. 5 have been bowled. It's 30 for 3. Welcome you up here to the commentary box, Andrew Leonard, alongside very experienced, very knowledgeable Corey Ruckers. Great to have you with us. I want to ask you one more thing. Some of the fans may or may not know that you're the head coach of Spain men's team, and you heard me earlier referring to the possibility of maybe Spain getting into the mix for a T20 World Cup qualification. Is that even on your kind of stratus?
Yeah, it's been spoken about because of the new parameters of the regional qualifying. So in a funny way for me sitting here watching this, and with the World Cup around the corner, if Netherlands and let's say Scotland both get automatic qualification and we win our group this year, all of a sudden you're in a shootout for one more spot potentially. And the way that the European zone is growing, the standards are coming on very quick. So it's an exciting time to be involved in European cricket.
Gavin Main into the attack. He immediately oversteps, which will give a free hit to Scott Edwards to get going. In Dreamland, there is a scenario where all 3 European sides qualify automatically for one of those 12 spaces. That would really throw it up.
And then if there's still 2 spots given to Europe, then it's the shootout this year between Group A, B, C and the regional qualifier. So things are very small now and a lot closer for teams that maybe dreamed and thought it was a dream 20 years ago. It's a lot closer and more realistic. We have a no ball. So Edwards, I think it's funky time here. Wouldn't be surprised if you see him try pull out a ramp or something audacious. Oh!
Instead he goes for the stand and deliver pull, and he gets a very good piece of it. Bit of a nightmare start for Gavin Main, no ball, followed up by being pumped for a maximum. Really good stroke, 6 to the total.
He pumped that, Edwards. That sounded like a cannon from a gun. I think he was expecting the short ball, sort of sitting back, and bang! He got every piece of that. It's a long boundary out there. Saw him do this at Lamunga many moons ago on ECL Finals Day. He's got power. Scott Edwards also a very good touch game. Little partnership growing now.
Yeah, Gavin Main is the one player here that is unlikely to go to the Caribbean and the USA from the Scottish side's perspective, because Brad Wheel, who's with Hampshire, is the man who's going to be taking his spot in essence. You know, we've seen Fionn Hand very much stick his hand up and say, well, hold on, you don't have to finalise that squad till the 25th.
I think he put both hands up the way he bowled the other day.
Yeah, career best figures for him. And Main could still do the same. I thought he was brilliant in the first game. Maybe just a chance. Obviously, you wouldn't wish an injury on anyone else. He could still be in the mix. Better now from the Netherlands. Just going back to that potential for Spain to get to a T20 World Cup, can you synopsise the path you'd have to take? It's 3 groups of 10, isn't it? Qualifiers starting out in, let me get this right, Italy in June,
yeah,
Germany in July, and Guernsey in August.
Correct, and basically there's 10 teams in each group. We'll actually go favourites into Group C as the highest ranked team. And if you win that group, we'll be sitting there waiting eagerly to see what happens with these 3 teams we're watching. So it just shows how close Europe is. I mean, Italy have just called in Joe Burns for that series, the Australian Open Joe Burns. Italian passport, as that one's pushed. Italian passport, hasn't played for Australia for 3 years, was opening with David Warner 4 or 5 years ago. He's playing for Italy in Rome in 2 months' time.
They so nearly had Spencer Johnson, didn't they? He just kind of burst on the scene a little bit too early for their liking.
I know Gareth Berg and Kevin O'Brien are doing really good things with Italian cricket, and they're using a mix of local players that play domestically with a mix of Wayne Madsen and the Joe Burns around the world.
Grant Stewart is with them as well, yeah.
You were there at their qualifier. Italy were only, I think, 12, 13 runs shy of...
Seven runs shy of Ireland in the opening game, and they dropped 2 critical catches.
Just shows you how close it is.
But just explain that a bit further. The 3 groups of 10, is it only 1 from each of those 10-team
It's
pools?
only 1 from each. And that's where there's a bit of an uproar, I think, and a lot of federations are saying to the ICC at the moment, especially ICC Europe, this is the fastest growing area. The ability is going through the roof. You've got to maybe, if you can let 2 through, or how you can expand is have a bigger regional qualifier. But a lot depends. There are some words going around that, let's say, 2 of these teams are automatically qualified, then it might be the top 2 of all the groups go through, so you have a team of 7 for the regional.
Okay.
So it really depends on what Scotland, Ireland and Netherlands do. Last ball of the power play.
Another no ball. It was a beautiful delivery. Just wonder, is Gavin Main thinking that that's actually hit the outside edge as well? Some of the body language around the crowd maybe indicates that this, it's a very marginal no ball as well. Look at the reaction from all the Scottish fielders. They think this was an edge. It's not just the extra run and the free hit. It's maybe a wicket rob from the Scots.
Hard to tell, but their reactions, there could very well have been a feather on that. And that reaction, you don't like that for just a normal no ball. I think Edwards has a bit of luck here, and maybe a bit more luck if he can cash in with this free hit.
Oh, it's a game of fine margins, isn't it? Probably just centimetres, if that, over the line. A little leg cutter is dealt with very ably by Scott Edwards. It's just going to get to the rope. It's the second boundary of the over, and both of them have come off the free hits. It gets us to the end of the power play, and the Dutch are coming back into it, fighting hard with the skipper and Baz de Leede. It's 44 for 3. Rejoined now by Vinny Sandhu. Bit of fond farewell for the moment to Corey Rutgers. Vinny, you know the kind of the European cricket landscape, but at the lower levels, probably better than anyone in the world. Just touching on, I've got those 30 teams that are trying to get the 3 spots for the 2026 regional final that'll be held in, I guess, early 2025, excuse me. You look at that qualifier C that Spain are going to be in: Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Greece, Bulgaria, Estonia, Finland, Guernsey, Malta. Will that be a kind of something between Denmark and Spain, you'd imagine?
Yeah, you'd imagine so. In that Group 1, Denmark have some very good players. Nikolai Damgaard's one that comes to mind. But even in Group 2 there, you've got Guernsey in there, who we've seen some good things happening from them lately. They've got a lot of players kind of in that UK system as well that qualify. But really across the board, like you say, 30 30 countries across 3 locations. Just Europe is one of those strange places. The country to area ratio is crazy. Just how many nations and how many federations you've got in such a small space.
How much crossover would you have from the guys you see at the lower levels through the T10 network that would then be playing in that these 3 qualifiers we'll see this summer? Is it everyone who's be in those international teams is on the network as well?
It really depends on the country. So I mean, we have the ability to do events in maybe plus or minus 20 countries a year. So it just really depends on also what their kind of passport holder numbers are. This one slides past the outside edge of delayed. So somewhere like Spain, so ECN has actually provided Spain with the ability to look at so many different players. It was kind of the power brokers were kind of centralised outside of Barcelona, but Barcelona now has more cricket clubs than anywhere in Europe except London, which is crazy. So I suppose there's sometimes a bit of a litmus test for those players then going into the longer format and different conditions and seeing who can handle it and who can't. But the fact we've been able to televise so much cricket certainly has made it easier in countries like Spain, like Germany, like Italy, for example, where there are vast distances to cover. And there's not the resources for selectors and coaches to go around and have a look at everybody.
Yeah, I'd imagine good performances in the T10 network are then leading to actually a chance to go on and play for your national team and then maybe take a pathway to a T20 World Cup that probably felt light years away even as recently as a decade ago, but there's maybe realistic ambitions for 5 or 10 of those 30 countries that go into this summer's ICC Europe events.
Yeah, without doubt. And I think it's kind of this melting pot, I suppose, of the players that do qualify through passports and maybe haven't played a lot of cricket in the country versus those that are. And as we get to the end of this over, 47 for 3 after 7. What's quite interesting is that take somewhere like Portugal, for example, where there's quite a few first-class cricketers around the world with Portuguese passports. And if they are able to play in this national team with, say, a handful of the guys that are playing locally, domestically in Portugal, where the level isn't so high, to be honest, but then those learnings get transferred down into the domestic game. And I'll give you a great example. Leis Deploy playing for the Hungarian side last year in the ECC. And he was great and honestly couldn't be more humble about the way he went around it and how passionate he was about developing the team. And now you look at the team, even when he's not around, trying to maintain those standards.
They've lifted up because of him. Yeah.
Super important that you get worlds colliding in European cricket. His main had some overstepping problems in that first over. Might have cost him a wicket.
Just one final question on this whole ecosystem. How much of, if any, of the European Cricket Network cricket is being played on grass surfaces, or is it all artificials?
That's a drawback. Because of our schedule and how we are operating, it's quite difficult. And to be honest, the volume of cricket we're playing 14 days in a row. And there's no time, and we're playing 10...
With five games a day.
5 games a day.
Yeah.
There's no sunlight hours to really prepare turf wickets. Nevertheless, players are getting some experience, I suppose, from time to time. Main get knocked for one down the ground here. But yeah, what's interesting is, I suppose, how to give those players exposure on natural turf pitches, because it is very, very different. And I'll give you an example, Lenny. The Austrian team, they played in Scotland in the next round of qualifiers last year. They did have a couple of games against Isle of Man as warm-ups. They didn't win, and then they didn't really perform too well in the qualifiers. I know they think you were there as well.
I was actually really surprised by that, because I'd seen some of their stuff coming in. And from chatting to those boys, the vast majority of the discussions were just not used to playing on grass. And that's the big difference. I think all 3 of those qualifiers this summer, in, like we said, in Italy, then followed by Germany and on to Guernsey, will all be played on artificials. I think it's to try and, in essence, level that playing field so that there's no disadvantage or advantage for that level. But then when you get to the final, surely that will then move on to grass.
Sure, but partly it's not just to try and even things up. It's because I think if you talk about continental Europe, I think Denmark, the Netherlands and Spain are the only 3 countries that actually have turf facilities. And correct me if I'm wrong. Corey's still here. But yeah, only Denmark, Spain and the Netherlands have turf pitches, and they'll get back for a scamper too. Here brings up the 50 for the Netherlands. And so unless you were going to have the qualifiers in those countries every single time, then Italy would never get to host a qualifier, or a Germany. And also, just not really the financial resources or the know-how, I suppose, at this stage to be able to make make turf pitches practical. But it is a real kind of complication, I suppose. Open the face this time. Delay to moves to 26.
Yeah, there's always so much talk about pitch conditions and the kind of the various amount of time we spend focusing on them. What's a par score? How a par score is going to play up and play out. I think just the difference between artificial and grass is a massive one. It really is, and it takes a huge adjustment, actually, not just for the batters, but particularly the bowlers. You always think about, oh, well, batting is the only aspect you think of it, but your lengths, your areas you hit as a bowler too, they automatically change.
Lift it up, and it's handsome. I think it'll go all the way, but it'll plug. In fact, it won't even go for 4. They're going to go for 3. They'll get 3. That was a good example. The old pitching wedge there. I think that before the rain, that one's running away for 4, but this time it's just 3 runs to the Netherlands. End of the over, 55 for 3.
In the game with this 4th wicket partnership has come alive. 22 off Gavin Mains, 2. I wonder how different a match it could have been had he not overstepped by that slight distance. Because right now the Dutch will feel as though they're in the hunt in this chase. The Scots need a wicket. And maybe it'll be Mark Watt to provide it, who's been such an experienced performer. So much on the line here, Vinny, not just the Tri-Series, but those rankings we keep talking about. We're kind of joining all of our conversations up together with that route to the 2026 T20 World Cup, where Scotland, the Netherlands and Ireland are all very much in the mix for automatic qualification via one of 2 methods, either getting through to the Super 8, which gets you there automatically, or else the alternative is by getting your ranking to be good enough, depending upon all the factors that come into play, to take one of the 4 spots that could be available via the rankings, presuming India and Sri Lanka, the co-hosts, get through to the Super 8, which you'd think they probably will.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. Although Sri Lanka, they've had an up and down few years, haven't they, in the rankings, in the shorter form. And the Netherlands, of course, doing the European region a huge favour by their performances recently on the big stage, providing more opportunities for European nations. Edwards with his favourite sweep shot there will get a single.
Yeah, just one final update on those rankings are thanks to Bertus de Jong, as always, who seems to be the sage of the ICC rankings at the moment. It's Ireland and Zimbabwe in the box seats at 195 and 192. Namibia, I don't think they can get back into it at 189 unless they have an exceptional World Cup, and even if they did, then they'd probably go through automatically via the Super 8s. And it's the Netherlands and Scotland on 189.4 and 188.7 that are not just playing for 2 points on the table, but playing for what would be a big boost on those rankings. Their rankings a bit more volatile because they haven't played nearly as much as the other teams.
Yes, some interesting kind of side plots to this upcoming World Cup for sure. Edwards dances at Watt and hits him back over his head, and that will break that boundaryless run. There's been 22 balls since the last boundary, but Edwards gets 4.
A really good stroke, good use of the feet, and I have to say we got a little bit stuck in, didn't we, to Scott Edwards the other day. He looked all at sea at number 3, didn't look particularly good, but he's played with more fluency. There's been many more aggressive shots of real intent in this innings today. Oh, this is close, Vinny.
Again, umpire giving a long, hard look at that one. Maybe a little bit better than that, or perhaps just an indication it might have been missing the leg stump.
No, he's given it his runs here. Oh, I tell you, if he hasn't got bat on this, Vinny, that looks very close. It was almost a celeb appeal. Cross and Watt were certain this was gone.
I mean, he does bowl wide of the crease, but it hits him full. Does look like it hits him in front. Umpire, obviously, you said it before, let's give the men in pink the benefit of the doubt because we don't have the angle that he does. That will be the end of the over. Bit of a talking point there, 61 for 3 after 9. And look, got some breaking news as well. That's just hit the presses in the last hour. That Netherlands have been forced to make a couple of changes to their World Cup squad. And that's something that's only been revealed since this game's been underway.
Yeah, we heard it. We heard a whisper of it pre-match. We were asked not to say anything about it, and well, look at it, just really sheer devastation for 2 men, and our thoughts are with both Daniel Dorham and Fred Klassen.
That looks pretty close. That one will be gone. So Deleda plays over the top of this one. Greaves strikes with his first delivery. This time the umpire's finger goes skywards as Netherlands' chances perhaps going the other way. 61 for 4.
Well, Chris Greaves has this happy knack, doesn't he, of just picking up wickets. You'll feel as though when you face this delivery, it's a drag down, but it's actually kind of his natural length as well. He darts them in, and I tell you, if you miss this, you're in all sorts of trouble. That is going on to the middle of middle stump. It'll bring us to the drinks break with a big wicket. It's going to be Bas de Leede who has to walk back just as the Dutch are coming back into it with that 4th wicket partnership. They lose a 4th. It's 61 for 4.
Yeah, he kind of started like that the other day as well, didn't he, Greaves? But this one was a touch full. It wasn't a rank long hop. And Bas de Leede, big wicket. 27 off 27 for the Prince of Voorburg. 61 for 4. This is where we saw the Netherlands kind of struggling through the middle overs against Ireland the other day and let that run rate required just creep up and up and up till it exceeded to a ball. And some last couple of overs heroics from Tim Pringle got them almost over the line. Here's Wesley Baracey, who comes into the side. Very experienced campaigner. Let's see what he's able to contribute with the bat.
Yeah, great player. Looking forward to watching him as there is a bit of early evening sunshine and a few shandies being enjoyed by the Voorburg CC crowd. We'll just round out that point about the 2 players who are going to miss out on the Dutch T20 World Cup squad. Fred Klaassen has a side strain, and we believe that Daniel Doran may well have broken his hand. And it probably makes us have to eat our words a bit. We were criticising his fielding effort. He must have injured it at some point. He bowled superbly well. I don't think it's his bowling hand. But the man from St. Martin, a chance to play at a World Cup in the Caribbean, well, we really feel for him. His dream has been diminished. The 2 players coming in, the beneficiaries of that sad news for the Dutch, Kyle Klein, who we saw today, who's been in such good form domestically. He was originally the travelling reserve. He'll now come into the squad. And then the big piece of news, it's Saqib Zulfikar, who comes in, the leg spinning all-rounder. I think he's actually a good option for them to have. That might be quite a nice little pickup. No sign of Roelof van der Merwe being persuaded into somehow ending up getting on the plane.
Haven't quite cajoled him enough yet, but Saqib, he's a player we know really well at ECN. He's won the Euros of cricket before in 2022 with the Netherlands. One of course, the famous Zulfikar triplets who have played all in one side here on ECN before as well. His Greaves. Baracey doesn't do much with the first ball. Yeah, so Saqib actually was playing, believe it or not, there's some sidelines here, but Saqib was playing against Michael Leask in the Western Shield. So Saqib was playing for Team Europe, and Michael Leask was playing for the British and Irish Knights in that competition. Well, that's pretty close as well, and that's gone. So Baracey goes without scoring. Greaves has a brace, and Netherlands stuttering through the middle over, 61 for 5.
Well, look at Richie Berrington. He is so delighted with his leg spinning all-rounder. That's why he's in the team, to create breakthroughs in these middle overs, and that's what Chris Greaves is doing so well. It's 2 in the over, both LBWs. The first one was plumb. Oh, well, this one too. It's going to hit leg stump. I think it's an easy decision again. Baracey has no arguments whatsoever, stuck on the crease. What did Richie Berrington say to you at the toss, Vinny Sandhu? The pitches here, they're just skidding on.
Yeah.
So that's why Greaves has become such a threat. It's 2 in the over. I thought 150 odd was going to be far too many. It's looking that way now.
Yeah, so there's Derek, and that's not a sight that you want to see, especially when you're coming in for your first game in the series. Baracey, feet didn't really go anywhere, did they? Maybe a little bit unsure of which way that was going to turn. I mean, you're calling Greaves a leg spinner, but he hasn't really threatened the outside edge of the bat. This one, if anything, comes the other way, like a top spinner that hurries on, and Baracey couldn't deal with it. Has to tell his story walking.
Well, Chris Greaves is a great character. He's really, in many ways, the heartbeat of this Scottish team. He might tell you this evening, he might say, oh no, that was the top spinner, or that was the flipper. That was a leg break. It's just skidded on. It wasn't out of the back of that. He does bowl lots of googlies. That was the first ball to Baracey. I reckon that's a leg break. It's just skidded on.
Okay.
That's
Fake
all.
leg spinners
Exactly.
sometimes are more effective than real leg spinners, but that's 2 LBWs in the over. Van Beek comes out at 7, gets a similar kind of delivery, but what a start for Greaves, who hasn't conceded a run yet.
Well, amazing how a T20 can swing in just the course of 1 over, let alone the 4 balls that Greaves has bowled so far. All of a sudden, the required run rate will start to grow and go in excess of 10 runs per over.
Van Beek will push and get off the mark. Going back to the Zulfikars, there's the Zulfikar triplets, so Saqib, Sikandar and Assad. And there's also Remat, their older brother, that plays in the same club here in the Netherlands. I remember seeing them all playing for for Punjab Rotterdam. Before their dad's the coach. I'm thinking, how big's this car that they're getting to the ground in to get all these kit bags in?
Got to be a 7-seater.
Got to be like a caravan. And these are good level cricketers as well, so they're not turning up with a backpack. Last ball, the 10th. What an over from Greaves. Ambitious from Edwards, though. That's his go-to. We'll get one on the reverse, and that's the end of the 10th over. The score is 63 for 5. Netherlands certainly with a lot of work to do. 96 required in the second half of this innings. Already half the batters back in the dressing room. Let's welcome you into the commentary box. It's not quite our regular cube, but we have got a little bit of a home here at the VCC ground. Vinny Sandhu, Mr. Maximo, got Andrew Leonard with me. Hasn't the hospitality been amazing? The hosts at short notice have put on a real great show here.
It feels like a community, like all good parts of European cricket. The club network in the Netherlands is very well established. The top class is a very good standard of cricket. And yeah, the hosts at Voorburg, we've loved every second of being here. Just the anticipation for me though, Vinny, for this T20 World Cup that's coming up. I know we're talking about it a lot, but there's a reason why. It's the biggest, it's the best we've ever had. It's the first time cricket for me is really taking a look at what it could be, how it could expand. And I don't think I've ever seen more noise on social media. I know the IPL's still finishing up and there's still a bit of talk about that. Everyone's really just thinking about the T20 World Cup that's going to follow. It's going to be brilliant.
No doubt about that as Edwards drives powerfully through the covers, and that'll beat the fielder. So rear gun action from Edwards. It was perhaps a little bit fortunate to survive a really close OEW appeal, but the captain's still out there fighting.
Yeah, the return of Brad Curry, who bowled so well in his first 2 overs. He'd only gone for 4 runs, but he's driven very nicely. Barrington is still brilliant in the field, but he couldn't get anything on it in his usual position at extra cover.
This one hits high on the bat of Edwards. Got to say, I love the pressure that Cross is creating, being up to the stumps as well. Just doesn't allow the batter to kind of get out with any confidence. Also, by trapping them on the crease, I suppose brings that sideways movement in a little bit more to some on the pace of Curry. In fact, Scott Edwards himself very good up to the stumps as well. 2 of the best associate keepers, no doubt, on the park today.
Just one more word on that T20 World Cup in terms of the excitement as Curry has to do his own field and they get back for a couple. It's all those narratives, those storylines that you're talking about. There you are, you're going to have a triplet, one of a triplet, go out to play at a World Cup. You talk about Aqib Ilyas, of Oman, coming back from what was a life-threatening illness and injury. Part of his leg literally had to be removed and he's out there, probably their best player by a distance. You talk about the brilliance of the Uganda story, Nepal returning to their first T20 World Cup in 10 years, USA getting to a first T20 World Cup and co-hosting it. Canada will be at their first one as well. There's so many narratives, and the vast majority, the most interesting ones, they're coming from the 9 associates.
Yeah, and it makes me think about, for example, the first World Cup that I remember vividly was the 92 World Cup in Australia, where I think there were 9 nations, in Zimbabwe at that stage I don't think had full status. So it was almost like it was an oddity, actually, to see, well, here's a team that really we're not used to seeing so much. And now you think you've got 9 out of the 20, biggest proportion ever. That can only go up as well if they expand the amount of teams. I think it's great for cricket.
And I think what we're going to get in our sport is you know, the Roger Miller type moments that football has had. And okay, Cameroon didn't go on to win that World Cup, but ask everyone about Italia 90, they remember a wonderful striker who was in his late 30s from Cameroon who went over to dance with the corner flag. We're going to see celebrations, we're going to see emotions, we're going to see drama. And I'll tell you something, there's several teams going to this World Cup that would be winning their first ever World Cup game. And I still vividly remember in the ODI World Cup, Afghanistan beating Scotland by the barest of margins down in Dunedin in 2015.
Goes aerial this time, does Edwards, but he's found the fielder. So the captain goes, and Netherlands' task becomes even more steep now as Scott Edwards goes for 29. Curry breaks through with his second strike, and it's also the end of the 11th over, 71 for 6.
They've got a real star ascending here, Brad Curry. He's a special cricketer, he's a clever cricketer. Chris Soule was not going to drop that, which he just missed off air as well. The archery bow came out in a big celebration. There's a bid on it between these two teams. They're probably friends off the pitch. Not sure they like each other too much on it. And Edwards is the latest to go. He's gone for 25. The Scots are hunting down not just a first win of the series, it could be a big win. This points table at the end of the day could be very interesting. 71 for 6.
And that's where margins matter as far as this series goes as well, because the way things are shaping up, we could have a tie, for example, on points. But hey, just talking about that Roger Miller moment, I've got a cricket example for you, and I'm going to give you 3 words of commentary, and I bet you can picture the moment. Okay?
Pressure on. I was putting the pressure on Corey earlier.
By the way,
I feel under the pump now.
Here's Tim Pringle, who was heroic the other night in a losing cause. Those 3 words are, the earth shook.
Ah, yes, the fridge. And then the fridge opened as Dwayne Leverock took probably World Cup's greatest ever catch.
It's over 20 years ago now, Lenny. It's over 20 years ago.
Not
was
quite.
Was
17.
Okay.
17.
It wasn't 17.
Was 17.
Dwayne Leverock.
We're in 2024. It was 17 years ago.
Now
2007.
It's time for Who's Right with Vinny and Lenny.
Vinny, never question me on the World Cup stuff. You don't even need to look it up. It was Bermuda against India, the 2007 World Cup.
2007, so 17. I thought you said 7.
No, 7.
I thought you meant 2017. Okay. I said definitely wasn't.
Vinny.
When you said 17,
Vinny.
I thought you meant the year 2017. Okay, 2007. I was just testing.
There was no World Cup in 2017. I can tell you that much as well. I'll even tell you who the batter was if you want, and the bowler.
I remember that it was Virendra Sehwag.
I don't think it was.
Okay, I'm wrong. I'm strike 2. You're going to strike me out. The bowler, I won't be able to. If it was European, I might have got him, but not from Bermuda.
The bowler was 17 years old, so it was 17 years ago that a 17-year-old took an incredible wicket for Bermuda.
Reeves slides another one past the bat.
That was Malachi Jones, and I'm almost certain, I hope I'm not wrong, maybe Corey will look it up in the background, I'm pretty sure it was Robin Uthappa.
That sounds more plausible.
And I'll tell you the commentator that caught all of our attention as well.
I know, one of my favourites.
David Bumble Lloyd, spot on.
I must admit I've borrowed pretty heavily from a fair few of his expressions, given the amount of hours that we have to cover on the European Cricket Network.
And you're right, it was the earth shook, and then as he was running away, I think it was the fridge. He called him the fridge. It was an iconic moment. It was actually one, Vinny, when I went on to do my work at the ICC with the digital team there. It was something that whenever we reran, as you know, a look back, or 10 years ago on this day, it always did crazy numbers. But people want to see that. They want to see moments like that. People don't remember that India made over 400 that day and Bermuda lost by 250. It didn't matter. And the best thing about T20 cricket is we get to the end of the 12th and it's 73 for 6. At times, I love the ODI game, and it's actually my favourite format of the 3 right now. But at times in an ODI, if there's a hammering, it can drag out. If one side's posted 440 and the others, let's say they're 50 for 5 in the chase, you know the game's done. In a T20, even a hammering can be actually very entertaining. And you don't really have that really long fallow period where, okay, we know where the result is going. And something I'd love to see, I know it was tricky for this T20 World Cup, is more triple headers at the T20 World Cup. Have a day, we've got 3 games back to back.
Here's Pringle, who's going to hold out. It'll be no heroics today from Tim. And Watt has a wicket. Netherlands really falling fast now, 73 for 7. Another safe catch taken on the boundary, this time by Chris Soule.
Well, everything Richie Barrington touches in terms of his bowling changes is working. The previous over from this paddock end, it was the left arm seamer striking, left arm spinner brought back in, Mark Watt, and he strikes right away too. You can't blame Tim Pringle too much for trying to repeat his big hitting heroics. Again, it's Soule with the catch out at long on, but the Dutch are not just in danger of going down to defeat. This table may well end up having Scotland on top of it at the end of the day if they keep going like this, because that 158 is a long, long way away. It's 73 for 7.
It's not quite start the car time, to use a bumbleism, but tell you what, it's not far off at the moment.
He evolved that, didn't he? It was start the bus and then start the tuk-tuk at one point.
He's a very entertaining guy, David Lloyd, got to say. The world needs characters.
Give you one little commentary story for those who enjoy our world. I was there at the T20 World Cup in 2016 when Carlos Brathwaite hit those 4 sixes in the last over to get the West Indies past England in the final off Ben Stokes. And what some people don't remember. Everyone remembers. I could have said the 3 words to you, remember the name, and you would have known exactly immediately what I was talking about.
That's the 24-yarder, maybe even nudging 25 that time from Watt, but Aaron Dutt gets off the mark.
So even though everyone remembers Ian Bishop's voice and very much that moment, what you may not remember is the 3 sixes prior to that were called as the lead commentator by David Lloyd, who was rostered as the lead and Ian Bishop as the analyst or the colour alongside him. And Ian Bishop was obviously of West Indian origin, played for the West Indies, still commentates around the world so passionately about the West Indies, loves and adores them. And David Lloyd, in between the balls, put the mic down and said, "Bish, you need one more hit, you call the rest." And that kind of, I guess, humbleness and kindness, well, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? And everyone remembers Ian Bishop's call now, and rightly so.
Yeah, well, that's super interesting. It's a team game, really, when it comes down to it, obviously. And we're thrilled to have you as part of our team when we can get you. But yeah, that's the kind of teamwork I think that people don't realise.
Touch of class, isn't it?
Makes things come together. Down the leg side, maybe took a little bit of pad, maybe a thin inside edge along the way. We'll wait on the umpire. He says that'll be 2 leg byes, and that run rate required is creeping up to around 2 a ball at the moment. Interesting to see how the Netherlands approach this, whether they have kind of one last stand.
Yeah, it's a kind of difficult situation. It's invidious, isn't it? What do you do? Do you really have a crack and try and win it now, which you're not going to be able to do, or do you take maybe these next 3, possibly 4 overs, try and get 7s? Let's say, what's that, 3 7s from here would get you, let's call it 100 from 16. Then you'd need 58 off the last 4.
Kind of, you need Pringle-like numbers from the other night to get close then.
Or Van Beek numbers from last year against the West Indies. 13 have been bowled. They're the 6 bowlers that have been used. Just the one for Michael Leask. I wonder, will we see a bit more of him at some point?
I noticed Rico Fool is in the chat. Hello, Rico. He's watching from Estonia, where the round 2 will continue tomorrow on the European Cricket Network. Some crazy numbers getting put out there. I think we might have had 7 centuries in the last 2 days from Estonia. And we had our second highest score ever of 244 earlier in the week. Let's just say it's not a great time to be a bowler up there in Tallinn, but it's a beautiful country. It's where I came from. As Greaves continues 2 for 4, his numbers off first couple of overs. This will get past the infielder. They should get at least 2. In fact, they might get more than that now. Pretty well done out there by Charlie Tier. He's a wicketkeeper some of the time. Right now he's in the role of outfielder, and he does well to save a run.
There's something about keepers who go into the outfield. They're almost always some of the very best outfielders, and this is superb work. Definitely a run saved. Glad to see Mark Watt up okay, because his knee did jar in the turf there just briefly. Great work, very clean from Tier.
There's the reverse coming out from Van Beek this time, who struggled through the first phase of his innings. 7 off 12 now. Yeah, it's true what you say about keepers being, I suppose, natural fielders. They spend so much time looking at the ball in close proximity. Although some have struggled. Adam Gilchrist was one that never quite looked comfortable without the gloves.
I think as the game has evolved, though, those keepers who were keepers only, and the famous slag in your cricket club when you were younger, keeper's arm, i.e. they couldn't throw because they didn't practice it very much. I think those days are long gone. You see someone like Matthew Wade go into the outfield, he turns into one of the best fielders out there.
Yeah, I've also got a bit of a theory that I think there's more keepers proportionately in a team now. So I think a lot of batters in their teens or when they're young, if they're not really bowlers, they'll pick up some keeping. So you're seeing more potential options within a team. So obviously only one can have the role. Might have been a wrong in there from Greaves out of the back of the hand. So it just means that they are spending more time in teams where there's already an established keeper, perhaps, as fielders. So they're practicing it more, and it's rare that you get this kind of Rod Marsh or Ian Healy, I would call it, or to use some English examples, like a Knott or a Jack Richards or something like that, which is, he's there primarily as a keeper, not so much as a bat. So that's just something that I've seen creep in. Obviously, the game's kind of professionalised itself a lot more in the last generation as well. Into 14 here, Netherlands, 87 for 7.
And good on Corey Ruckers. He's fired up that dial-up internet. It took about 15 minutes to find. Robin Utapa caught by Dwayne Leverock. Bold Malachi Jones, 4-3.
Well, Saywag came in at the 4 that wicket, so maybe he's kind of imprinted subliminally in my mind as being part of the equation.
He did make 114 that day as well, so fair call.
Yeah, good wicket to lose then. But yeah, that's what World Cup's about, moments as well. It's not just the overall result. Watt's going to bowl out here in the 15th. I won't get us off the pitch.
Yeah, I think one more word on it. It's sometimes hard. I know both of you originally come from a very established cricketing nation, one of the most established in the world in the shape of Australia, but it's sometimes hard to get across the heartache of not qualifying for a World Cup to sides that go to every World Cup.
It's bowled in as Duck goes walkabout, and he plays down the wrong line. Watt's got 2, and Netherlands right down the bottom now, 87 for 8 in the 15th.
And you're looking at someone who I think will be one of the big stars of the 9 associates that go to that T20 World Cup, Mark Watt. I can't understand why he's not picked up in almost every T20 league in the world. You look at his numbers, they're as good as anyone going around the traps with his left arm spin. I can't remember the last time he's gone at more than 10 and over. He often goes at 5s or 6s and 7s. He'll regularly take wickets, as he's done again here today. It's the second one for him. Aryan Dutt really just runs past one, and as a hack, it's another T20I wicket for Mark Watt, and it's 87 for 8.
Really a case of how close can they get now. Not quite the noise we had at the ground on the weekend. And partly that's because it's a weekday, partly it's because the home side's struggling against the Scottish side without a win so far in the tournament.
We did say that no side would win 4 games in this tournament. That is now going to be an absolute fact. Okay, Ireland could still win 3 in a washout, but I wouldn't be overly surprised if Ireland lost a game coming up to either the Scotland or Netherlands sides that they will play in the final 2 fixtures that will round out this great little tri-series.
Plenty to do here, young and old. Enjoying the cricket, maybe not enjoying the results so much. Here's Kyle Klein coming out at number 10. Now, what a 24 hours for him. I'm assuming he's realised now he's gone from travelling reserve to a fully fledged member of the World Cup squad. So I bet his head's still spinning. Did pick up 1 wicket, but went for a few in the first half. Comes out to bat at number 10. It's wrapped on the pad. Umpire again has a good look. That one perhaps with the angle just going down the leg side.
I've said this 3 times now, Vinny. Sorry to echo it once more. The resilience of this Scottish squad, it's quite remarkable. We were saying that they've played less in the last 2-year cycle than either of the other 9 qualifiers.
He's chopped on, so Watt will get a 3rd wicket. He's wheeling, he's dealing, and the Netherlands are reeling. Down to number 11 now. They're 87 for 9.
Now this is a hammering. It's an absolute hammering. They've been played out of sight, bat, ball and in the field. All 3 facets today. The Dutch have been dispatched. And right now they're a ball away from being beaten by, well, over 70 runs, remarkably. Not necessarily the greatest shot for someone who can bat a bit down the order. Watt, too canny, too clever. It's 87 for 9.
Just beaten by an angle there, wasn't he, Kyle Klein? As he'll go for a 2-ball globe. Now, well, Rico is in the chat. I'm sure Rico's watching at home, and there's a certain noise being made. A lot of our ECN viewers will know it. I'm not going to attempt it, but unfortunate for the Netherlands here on home soil. It'll be 1 and 2 in the series with just Ireland to play as Viv Kingmutt comes out on his home turf. Coming out number 11.
Here is Kingmutt. What can Kingmutt do? Can he show his batters above the order as to how to stay there? Can they get through the overs?
Well, this could be close. In fact, it's game, set and match. Watt traps Kingma in front, and the Netherlands bowled out for 87. It's a 71-run win and revenge for Scotland after that opening day loss.
I thought 120 was a winning score today. 150 plus has proved far too many. The Dutch have been dispatched with a remarkable ease here. They've been beaten out of sight, and the Scots, they always find a way. They very rarely go 3, 4, 5 games in a row without picking up wins. Yes, brilliance from George Munsey, the standout batter of the day by a distance. They fielded excellently well, with the exception of those couple of no balls from Gavin Main. Everything else was basically perfect with the bowling. That is an absolute hammering and a big, big win. not just in the course of this tri-series, in the context of the T20I rankings and the T20 World Cup that's coming up as well. Great credit to Scotland. They were sensational today.
And it's interesting, wasn't it, Lenny, because on opening day, Scotland kind of struggled with the pitch and the conditions a little bit, whereas the Netherlands, what you'd think would be an advantage for them, they really looked out of sorts there, especially with the bat in the second half of that game. Scotland, remember, they did take their time, I suppose. They didn't have a very fast power play. Munsey, I suppose, maybe the difference in a lot of ways between the two sides with his innings. He certainly did find his feet, and once he did, he was very destructive. But a disappointment for the Netherlands on a day. There was a little bit of action with regards to their World Cup campaign, movements in their squads, a little bit of news, I suppose, that might have just thrown a little bit, taken their eye off the ball in this game. But hey, all credit goes to Scotland. They came back hard and they have their first win in the series.
Yeah, and all three captains who've won the toss in this series have gone on to lose the game now. We saw Richie Berrington deciding to have a field first day one. They came up short by 41. Then Scott Edwards said, no, we'll have a bat first. Excuse me, they'll have a field first. That wasn't enough either. Ireland won by 1 run. And now we also see the Dutch again winning the toss, choosing to field first, and that hasn't worked for them either. It was a brilliant game of cricket, a brilliant performance, I have to say, by the Scots. Remember, they were in early trouble too. They couldn't really get anything going in the power play, but then Munsey, who had that life, well, didn't he cash in? Here's the best of the second innings.
Man, Vikram was an early casualty. They went to spin early, which is a trick we saw the Dutch using the other night. But top three making 1, 3 and 2 in that order. That was a great return catch, wasn't it, by Sol to get Levitt, who did look in form when these two teams played the other day. That was a fortunate one. Had split the keeper and the slip. But yeah, Engelbrecht at number 3, he was gone for just 2. And it was a long way from home there. Even though they still had time, credit to Scotland. They make the best of it, and they've opened their account in this tri-series.
Yeah, they've been simply too good today, and I'll say it once more across all 3 facets of the game. There was a nice start, as we saw in his first appearance in the series from Baz de Leede. He made 27 at a run of ball, including those 3 boundaries. Edwards looked much more positive today. He made 29 off 25, including the only maximum of the second innings. Remarkably, the Dutch have hit just 7 boundaries in their 20 overs, because when Greaves came into the attack and accounted firstly for Baz de Leede LBW before picking up Wesley Baresi just 2 balls later, well, this game really had a sense of very one-way traffic despite Scott Edwards' best efforts. Only 3 batters got to double figures.
Yeah, and so after those kind of early 3, it was Greaves that came on, kind of tore the heart out of the middle order as well. And no one really winning the battle with run a ball, even making double figures, except for Edwards, 29 off 25. So it's just a kind of a stagnating aspect to this second innings. Runs really hard to come by. I think you've got to give credit to the Scottish bowling, and even their fielding, their ECT out working really hard to save a run. And they went for broke at the end and came up empty-handed.
The last 3 wickets fell in 4 balls, all to Mark Watt. 2 of them bowled, the final one Viv Kingma, LBW. It summed up the day. It was a very, very one-sided game and an exceptional Scottish performance.
Yeah, disappointment for Kingma, but elation for Scotland and all the Scottish fans watching around the world. It's one to forget for the Dutch, but they'll have the chance to come back. They will play again on Friday. They'll be taking on Ireland. For Scotland, well, they still have some work to do because they'll be taking on Ireland for the first time tomorrow because the other game was washed out. Let's have a look at the scorecard. And you can see it was as easy as 1, 2, 3. Not quite in that order, though, for the top 3 of the Netherlands. Then de Leede with 27 at a run of ball. Edwards tried to turn things around, but that rate was creeping up out of hand. Eventually the down wall burst. Greaves came on, trapped a couple of LBW, and it was all downhill from there. Yeah,
one trend that has kind of continued a little bit, Vinny, throughout this tri-series is that it's been very difficult for batters to come in and score fluently from the off and make an impact down the order. So as a consequence, as soon as de Leede and Edwards went, that then basically was that. But great credit to the Scottish bowlers. You also have to feel a bit sorry for Gavin Main. If he didn't overstep that twice, those figures would have looked a lot different. And in fact, this defeat could have been even heavier from the Scots that they inflicted upon the Dutch. Brilliant bowling figures though. Mark Watt, 3.5 overs, 4 for 12.
Yeah, well, Corey would have called him the janitor because he cleaned things up, didn't he, towards the end. So but he one-sided in the end, 158 to 87. So interestingly enough, with the table, obviously Scotland being on the board now, with that big win, I'm sure probably puts them ahead of Ireland on net run rate as well, Lenny.
Yeah, I think they'll literally turn it all around. They were miles behind with that 41-run defeat, but because of the manner of their victory, 71 runs here, you don't need to be a mathematician to find out that margin's going to be bigger than Ireland's one-run victory. That's their only contribution to net run rate from their first game. So I think Scotland top of the table after 4 games. How quickly has it all turned around?
Yeah, you said it, and I suppose that game tomorrow could potentially decide who's going to win this tri-series. Obviously, Scotland and Ireland have a natural rivalry anyway, and they'll be pretty competitive anytime they get on the park. Let's welcome you into the commentary box one last time. It's been great to have your company wherever you've been watching around the world. I want to say big thanks to everyone also in the live chat, ECN European Cricket Network. It's always great to have your company. There is the table, Lenny. Talk us through it.
Well, that's it. Scotland are on top of the table. They've got that big net run rate boost. If they win tomorrow, well, let me do their maths. They could still be caught if Ireland can beat the Netherlands in the last game, but they'll need to do it by a big margin. They're sitting pretty. Can they beat their Celtic rivals like they did last summer in Edinburgh? Yeah, and the other thing is with that loss, it seems like that Netherlands, they're no chance now, assuming you don't have any more problems with the weather, because the best they can do is 4 points if they beat Ireland on Friday. And with Scotland and Ireland tied on 3, one of them should go to 5 tomorrow. It's a disappointment in that result, but also the way I think that they went down. Okay, yeah, they shuffled the deck a little bit. Noah down at the top of the order. Yeah,
they're trying a few
4 changes, wasn't there? Yeah,
that's true. But I think that they would have hoped to put on a bit more of a show. But that's short form cricket. We know it, and all credit goes to Scotland in that win.
The thing that I think surprises me the most about the Dutch performance today, and will also disappoint everyone involved in the Dutch setup the most by a distance, their fielding today. They're a significantly better fielding side than that. They won the toss. They chose to bowl first. The whole team was ready to go, but they just simply didn't execute. Energy levels felt a bit low for me. I'm not sure if it's something to do with the weather or maybe the case of 3 games in 5 days, but really that's not the kind of cricket we get used to watching when the Netherlands play. Bit
of a false dawn there with Levitt, I should say, with his catch, his levitating catch. We still had plenty of action, didn't we? I mean, Leask with that 6 down the ground. I love that one. Obviously the batting of Munsey and what he provided since he's been injected into the series. I want to just remind everyone there is a lot of cricket happening all around Europe right now, and in fact probably just be around about almost halfway through the Portugal night series tonight. Phil G's there if you want to continue watching some cricket. We've got Punjab CC Amadora taking on the Werewolves. Now they play their best cricket after midnight, Lenny, but they will be on the park right now, so you can turn over right now if you want to keep watching some ECN cricket. More cricket in Estonia tomorrow. It's been raining centuries there in Tallinn, which is a beautiful place. A really long day this time of the year as well.
Sorry, Vinny, just blacked out a touch there. The Werewolves and the Tartu Wolves. Have I got those right?
Yeah, well, okay. A lot of the teams are named the Wolves, but I won't go into that. But all the Wolverhampton supporters, they quite like the Wolves.
They quite enjoy it, I'd say, yeah.
And then don't forget, you've got match 54. You've got TRS versus TSR. That's the Tallinn Rising Stars versus Tallinn Super Riders tomorrow. Rico Forby standing by, and Charlie, who went to the zoo today, will be telling us all about his day at the Tallinn Zoo. So that's plenty more. That's 8:30.
How could you not love it, Vinny? How could you not love it?
Tomorrow.
Two big games to finish this series as well.
What's that again?
2 big games to finish this series coming up.
Absolutely. And just quickly before we go, I do want to remind all of our viewers, we have a lot of questions, okay? If we're in Europe, where can we watch the World Cup? I can tell you that you can watch it on icc.tv, depending on your territory, but that's in many, many territories.
I think it's everywhere but the UK and Ireland, which obviously you'll be able to tune into Sky Sports and enjoy it there. But that's a great innovation, isn't it? You're going to be able to, wherever you are in the continent of Europe, get in and watch every single ball live. Just go to icc.tv.
That's what it's all about, and we try and make it as easy for you, definitely on ECN, to watch as much cricket as you can. And tomorrow we'll be back. Now, don't be caught unawares, because tomorrow we go to earlier games. So Ireland versus Scotland tomorrow, 9 a.m. GMT, which is 11 o'clock in Central Europe. It's 2:30 p.m. in India, and that will be the start time for matches 5 and 6, which is tomorrow and Friday. Ireland versus Scotland, we haven't seen them lock horns yet. What are you expecting tomorrow?
I think Ireland will have to be at their best. I really do. And I think with the 11 a.m. starts, that's going to play a factor as well. The toss could be big. We've seen the toss go against every team that's ended up with winning the match. I think Scotland, they're always quietly confident against Ireland. They've got a pretty good record against them in ODI cricket and T20I cricket. Recently, Ireland, they'll want to continue what they did the other day. It was a 1-run victory, and they weren't at their very best, but they were good enough to beat the Netherlands. If they can do that, and and maybe win their last game then against the Dutch, well, actually, I think the rankings are done. I think they'll almost be sealed a spot in the 2026 T20 World Cup, barring some really strange stuff happening. So huge amount on the line, not just in the Tri-Series, but the big shift is going to be to those 11 a.m. starts. Very different at 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see what kind of shape the field's in at that time in the morning. Hope you don't get any more rain. Finally, big thank you to all our viewers out there, to all the Blue crew here and everyone here at the VCC Club for looking after us so much. Big thank you to Corey Ruckers as well. And tomorrow's a big day because tomorrow Lenny turns 40. Right here, you wouldn't believe it. He's got the hair of a 60-year-old, but he's got the face of a 21-year-old. So Lenny, hopefully, I suppose we get a good game on your birthday tomorrow.
Not a big man for birthdays, but yeah, you've wheedled that out of me, and thank you in advance.
Perhaps when you stick around this long, you deserve to get the scoop. And a few scoops as well with the 2 Dutch changes. I'm sure that'll be all over the news tonight. But yeah, we'll see you tomorrow from everyone here at the European Cricket Network and European Cricket family on behalf of Corey Ruckers and, of course, Andrew Lenny Leonard, who's going to enjoy the last few hours of his 30s. Stay happy, stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow for more Dutch Tri-Series action here live from VCC. For now, Sasta Manana.